A chain link fence in a quiet forest, and a sign that reads restricted area, no trespassing. Behind it, somebody's campsite sits wrapped in a strange yellow haze. The chairs are empty, the gear's still out, nothing moves. Now the dust thickens over the tents, and ragged breathing starts somewhere in the brush. A camper in red sits slumped in the undergrowth, blood on his face, dust rising off his body like smoke. He's not the worst off. 2 more campers lie in the grass around him, bloodied and completely still. So he stares at his own bloodied, trembling hand, and it finally clicks. There's something inside the yellow dust. He barely finishes the thought before a huge black silhouette rises out of the bushes above him. File that dust away. It's about to become Hanmaru's entire job description. The shape turns. A hooded figure, face lost in shadow, a massive cleaver already dripping with someone's blood. The dying man reaches out with a shaking hand and begs for help. Here's the thing though. The government keeps a secret team for scenes exactly like this, and the newest hire they're about to make faints at job interviews. So who exactly is Hanmaru? Stay with me. What happens next isn't a fight. Something dark whips across the campsite. A bloody hand claws upward, and the whole world smears into motion blur. Then everything stops. The camper lies motionless in the grass, blood at his mouth, and over his body a flat voice says, "What a pity." Of course, when the cleanup crew finally arrives, their first question is why he even entered a restricted area. 3 officers in yellow jackets stand over the victim, unimpressed, and someone notes that a victim means filing a report. A man died here, and their tone says this happens a lot. Remember them. They're Hanmaru's future co-workers. Then one officer's head snaps around. Fog crawls up from the forest floor, a hand slides inside a jacket, and another officer points into the smoke, screaming that it's here. Something tall and black stands inside the haze. Whatever it is, hunting it is the job Hanmaru is about to apply for. The silhouette waits in the dust, nothing visible but faint glowing eyes. Any sane person runs here. These 3 don't even back up. One of them steps forward, calm, and says, "I'll handle it." The thing answers with a low, broken moan, almost human, while an officer walks straight at it, dragging a blood-stained cleaver, special yellow dust task force printed across her back. Hanmaru's about to earn that same jacket. Well, the boots don't slow down. One swing, one burst of shredded debris, and the clearing goes quiet. That's the entire event. No backup, no panic, just a report to file. This is the workplace our boy is walking into. So let's go back to the beginning. A gleaming office tower, interview day, rows of identical black suits waiting in silence. Applicant number 12 gets called in and hurries through the door. And in the middle of all that gray sits one guy in a loud patterned jacket. That's him. That's Hanmaru. Except our hero isn't rehearsing answers right now. He's hunched over a toilet, whispering, "I want to go home." But go home to what? 4 straight years of failed applications are waiting back there, and nothing else. Honestly, it gets worse by the second. He clutches his head, telling himself he can't do this, then grabs his chest through his shirt while his heart slams like a fist. This is a full panic attack in a public bathroom. How is he supposed to talk his way into a job when he can't even breathe? Then the water hits his face. He grips the sink, breathes, and looks up with sweat still running and his eyes suddenly hard. He didn't crawl through 4 years of rejection to fold in a bathroom. One more breath, he's going in. The faucet's still running while he stares himself down, and the calm doesn't hold. This isn't going to work, he thinks. He's already grabbing for more medicine, because one dose clearly wasn't enough. Now he's hunched over the sink in that tiled bathroom, sweating through his shirt. Whatever the medicine's supposed to fix, it's losing. Then he looks up, and a small sparrow on a branch is staring straight at him, so he glares back through actual tears and snaps at it, asking what it's looking at. The bird answers, "You punk. Did that thing just talk?" He shakes it off and leans on a counter, tense, while a TV drones out breaking news. 4 people in their 20s are missing after camping on Manhwa Island. He's too wound up to even hear it. Of course, our boy preps for the biggest interview of his life at a vending machine, whispering that he can do this 3 times in a row. It doesn't sound convincing once. Then his eyes drop, and a memory rolls in on its own. Graduation day, a rose on his gown, his mom hugging him like the hard part's over. It wasn't. Finding a job was. 4 failures. That's his record. He stands on a night street, clutching a bent metal post, backpack still on, crying where nobody's watching. So when staff tells him to prepare, he's next in line. His hand shoots straight up. He's here. He's not missing attempt number 5. Inside, the interviewer just stares, hands clasped over his mouth, eyes like blank lamps in the shadow. Maru answers something about staying flexible while sweat slides down his cheek, and behind him, another applicant chews their nails raw. Then comes the easy one. How are his interpersonal relationships? Whatever he says lands so wrong that the man looks up with a flat pardon, and Maru blurts, "I misspoke." He forces a grin and claims nothing particularly challenging has ever happened to him, while inside he's screaming that it's happening right now. The interviewer tells him to calm down. They only want his problem solving, so he scratches his head and reaches for an example. Well, something reaches back. He's still smiling when a boy's face floats up from somewhere deep, blank-eyed and drowned in red. Maru starts to shake, hand creeping toward his own face, the room smearing into swirls. Then they come, a cluster of eyes on black wire stalks, dozens of them, staring out of the dark. It gets worse. A body hangs above blood-spattered ground, legs dangling limp. Blood drips down like rain onto a gray-haired figure buried under a pile of mangled corpses. A man man in a suit kneels in the aftermath, a blood mark on his forehead, eyes hollow, then gloved hands, dark clothes, someone standing rigid on tiled floor. Up close, one eye holds a slow spiral where an iris should be. Everything blurs, then a tiled corridor swims back into focus, 2 lights and a wall panel, somewhere cold and institutional. Maru gasps awake in his chair, sweating, tie crooked. How long was he out? A masked man has him by the shoulders, shaking his limp body while his eyes hang half open. Whatever played inside his head, it took him with it. Meanwhile, the sun sets on a worn brick gashiwan, cracked sign and all. Inside one cramped little room, Maru sleeps face down on a pile of stacked cushions. Home sweet home. So Maru gets maybe 4 hours of sleep before something starts pounding outside his door. He bolts upright, and a pale, long-haired figure is looming over him, glowing in the dark. He shrieks loud enough to wake the whole Goshiwan. It's not a ghost, just a long-haired man in his doorway, asking why he's home instead of out working. Maru suddenly finds his own bare feet very interesting. Then he smells the delivery bag, grabs for it drooling, and blurts, "Is it maybe meat? No? Kimchi and braised beans?" And the man plans on enjoying them himself. Now the man's eyes narrow, because he's finally looking past Maru at the room itself. Maru just stands there clutching his food bag in a sea of bottles and trash. He tells Maru to take a good look at this room. Maru folds into a gloomy heap on the floor, while the man watches in silence. Then comes the one-word verdict, discouraged, and Maru howls like he's been stabbed. Honestly, the no pain no gain shirt Maru's wearing is doing more work than he is. He rubs his sore neck, grumbling, and the man grabs him by the collar. Maru shoves an envelope up between them like a shield. Then the man goes quiet, musing that maybe the fortune teller was right after all. Behind him, Maru just blinks, envelope still in hand. Just like that, the scene jumps to a harbor. Boats, a lighthouse, salt air, and somebody groaning through a big stretch. It's Maru on the pier with a backpack, fresh off the boat to Ganghwa Island. He stands under a shelter, staring up at a small town pressed against the mountains. Then his head snaps up sharply. Something about this place. He walks until he's facing a walled house with a faded blue double gate, weeds crawling up the stone. Found it. Then his eyes slide sideways, narrow and careful. And a memory hits him. A small boy standing alone on tiled ground, face washed out by the light. When was he here? Why does he know this gate? The memory keeps rolling. A child sprints flat out down the same street, right past where grown Maru stands now. Little slippers sit by a door, and the boy pushes it open from inside, peering out. Inside, the kitchen is dark, and a hunched figure just stands in it, head down, face gone in shadow. The boy reaches for the door handle anyway, wide-eyed, daylight at his back. "Dad, I'm hungry," the boy calls. No answer. The silhouette in the doorway doesn't even turn around. In the dark, the man lets out a small startled sound, like something just clicked. For a moment, he stands dead still, face swallowed in shadow. Then his mouth tears open in a scream. Then it's quiet again. Grown Maru stands in stripes of sunlight, looking sideways into an empty room. Except there's a man's shadow on the floor, and nobody standing there to cast it. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a white-haired man in a mask hunches over with a grunt, fist clenched until it shakes. His knuckles grind against rough stone. Something's building. Meanwhile, Maru's still stuck outside that locked-up house, and the weather's turning on him. So he does the productive thing and hurls an empty bottle across the yard. 4 years of rejections, and now this trip's a dead end too. That's his life. Then he sees it. Yellow smoke curling up out of the trees right beside him. That's the stuff from the news, the dust that kills people in restricted zones. Maru grabs his bag and bolts downhill through the brush, telling himself safety comes first. And somewhere behind him, blood's already soaking into the ground. Now the dust rolls over the field and swallows every tree in sight. There's a shape standing in the haze, a silhouette with a strange rounded head gripping a long spear. A person out here in a restricted forest, it just stands there. Then it charges. Heavy footsteps thud through the smoke while Maru goes very still, listening. Out of the dust slides a sharpened bamboo spear, point first. That's not smoke playing tricks, that's a weapon. Turns out the dust is carrying something worse than a person. A bloated corpse-like body shuffles into view, bandages soaked red around its head, bare teeth grinning through a torn jaw, and it speaks. It rasps his own words back at him. Safety first, word for word. Of course, Maru handles this the way 4 years of panic attacks taught him. Is this the hallucinations again, like the talking bird back in that interview room? His visions have never once been real, so he picks the sane option. He turns around and walks off into the trees. The dust doesn't let him go. It starts showing him things instead. A black-faced figure with blank white eyes, driving a knife home while blood sprays a wall. A man kneeling in the grass, a green bamboo pole punched clean through his side. Now there's blood running from Maru's own mouth, and the gaunt thing has risen right behind his shoulder. A single tear slides down his face. A thought drifts through him that doesn't feel like his own. Life sucks, and nobody would be sad if he died. The fragments keep coming, faster and uglier. A man in an apron raising a pole behind a smirking stranger. Somebody screaming for his mom under a paper charm. A hand trembling around a blade coated in blood. It's a whole miserable life, pouring straight into Maru's head. Then the creature is done showing and starts taking. It lunges with its jaws split wide, torn scalp peeled back, a fat fat red tongue rolling between jagged teeth. It croaks that same line about safety one more time. Between them, a sick green light starts to glow. For 1 second, Maru thinks walking away actually worked. It didn't. A thing with a raw, skinless red face slams into him from behind and clamps onto his shoulder. They tumble in a blur of dust and limbs. Maru shoves against its chest and screams at it to get off, blood smearing his chin. Then everything goes quiet. Out of that silence, a voice crawls, one letter at a time. T, and in the dark stands a silhouette with nothing left to see but a red mouth. Maru stands with his head hanging, shirt torn half off, a thin line of light glowing across his face. Then he screams. It's not the scream of a man running away, it's something rawer, blood dripping from his mouth with every breath. Whatever just woke up inside him, it isn't fear. Blood sprays across pale bandage cloth in one violent strike. Somebody just got hit hard, and this time it isn't Maru. The scream dies somewhere in the dark. A body crumples against a wall of red, one hand still reaching for nothing, and a clawed silhouette with a sword across its back stands over the kill. The bite replays inside his head. That giant grinning mouth closes over him again in a spray of blood, and then an eye opens. Green iris, cross-shaped pupil, nothing human about it. Black spikes unfurl beneath it, something taking shape. Now the dream gets worse. A face made of twisted red flesh stares out with glowing white eyes, and under it a skeletal monster rises, screaming from a whole horde of its kind. Two green eyes glow low in the smoke, then snap wide against the fire. A spiked armored figure raises its arm over a sea of grasping hands. Maru's mind claws at it. Are those his eyes? Is that thing him? A burst of white noise rips the vision apart. Then grass. He's flat on his back, blood dried around his mouth, eyes barely opening. He braces for teeth in his gut. There's only quiet forest. He bolts upright so fast the two people standing over him flinch. Torn shirt, bloody chin, wild eyes. So he blurts out the obvious. The monsters are gone, and the yellow dust went with them. The man in the floral shirt grabs him and snaps. Repeat that. What did you see? Maru stammers through it. A monster jumped him out of nowhere, went straight for his stomach. He thought he was dying, except his hands come away from his belly and there's no wound. Nothing. The floral shirt man cuts a look at a woman in glasses, and she flinches. Behind them, our boy just hangs there dazed, question marks practically orbiting his head. Maru checks his own bloody torso and can't explain a drop of it. The older man mutters that it looks like the kid killed the demon, which shouldn't be possible even with power taken from its blood. Then he orders the bloody evidence tossed and stands staring into the trees, saying nothing. Later, a lazy hay drags Maru back to earth, hand flying to his chest. The man raises one finger and mentions yesterday. Maru blinks at him. What does he mean, yesterday? Then his phone answers for him. The clock reads 1:30 and the date has skipped a full day ahead. Just like that, 24 hours of his life are missing. He howls into the forest while the two of them calmly agree he hasn't grasped the situation yet. Naturally, they walk him through the misty woods, a yellow jacket close behind. The grinning man slings an arm around his shoulder and tells him he came at the right time because he needs to participate. Maru's face doesn't agree. Cut to a small coastal town. Blue roofs packed tight in the sunlight. The banner over the entrance calls it a city full of love, a great place to live. Of course, the sign underneath reads Dust Emergency Department Headquarters. And that's how Maru ends up planted in a row of suits with his eyes shut, the one loud flowered shirt in the building. Security cameras stare down at the rows. He asks himself the only sane question left. Why is he suddenly sitting in an orientation for government officials? So Maru's stuck in a hall full of recruits laid out in rows like patients. Somebody beside him mutters about getting dragged here too. He glances around and his skin crawls. Why do all these people have such strange, scary expressions? Now a purple-haired commander in burgundy takes the podium. That's Kangcha, the man who hired Maru on the spot. Maru's hand goes up before his brain can stop it, and he apologizes, says he doesn't think he can attend this event. Bold move. Kangcha doesn't even blink. He looks straight at Maru and lands it flat. You're hired, congratulations. Special Official, Ministry of Environment, effective today, and nobody's asking his opinion. A row of staff in yellow uniforms stands along the wall, dead silent. Then somebody mentions the terms, and Maru chokes. National security law? Turns out this whole job is a state secret, and the dread settles over him like a shadow standing at his back. Kangcha rolls straight into the briefing. Fortunately, demons only appear in uninhabited mountains, inside the yellow dust. That dust runs from level 1 to 10, and the higher the level, the stronger the demon. Behind his words, a horned silhouette looms in the haze, huge and clawed, while a smaller shape crouches in the smoke below. Then Kangcha stops mid-speech and calls Maru up by name. His hand creeps into the air. The commander smirks and says he got his ability from a level 7 demon, that he's looking forward to his work. Level 7. The boss himself just crowned the guy in the tropical shirt. Kangcha even reaches over and straightens Maru's collar himself, ring glinting on his finger. Right beside them, a recruit in a suit loses it, snickering into his fist and ruffling Maru's hair. Our boy went from unemployed to famous in one morning. And then the entire room jolts out of their chairs yelling. One blink, the hall is gone and a misty mountain ridge shines in the sun. The recruits trudge single file down a dirt path through the trees, still dressed for a ceremony. Somewhere up the line, somebody's howling about what the hell they're doing out here. Honestly, fair question. Maru stumbles along gasping, sweat pouring, the tropical shirt already a mess. He ends up crossing a grassy field alone. Then he spots it. A figure stands dead still in the tall grass ahead, hair moving in the wind, one arm hanging wrong, not waving, just hanging. He steps closer and his stomach drops. That arm is shriveled and dark, dried out like a mummy's. Is that really a person's arm? Is she even okay? The woman whips her head around, blood running down her cheek, eyes glowing pink. Then the field itself answers him. A glowing red blade slams down through the skull of a massive hooded skeleton, dust bursting off the hit. Beneath it, a ponytailed recruit in yellow stands between two of the giants. She's tiny against their bones, blood coating her arm and hand. And Maru sits down in the dirt and screams at the sky. He isn't the only one losing it. Across the field, two more recruits scream into the dust, and even the suits flanking Kangcha go wide-eyed. So, this is the part where someone calls an evacuation. Instead, Kangcha grins wider and declares the practical training officially open. He jabs a finger at a recruit in a yellow jacket, and she nearly bites through her knuckle. The monsters aren't an accident, they're the curriculum. Meanwhile, the whispers find Maru. A ponytailed recruit asks out loud if that's the man who single-handedly beat yesterday's demon, and heads start turning. Farther off, a woman in glasses studies him from a distance, wondering what ability he got and how he killed a demon the same day he gained it. She doesn't buy it. Maru wouldn't either. Then a woman in a red suit charges past with her fists up, yelling about a fight. A man near Maru mutters that she's lost her mind. He's not looking at her though. Below them, a grinning skull face swims up out of the red haze. It rises and keeps rising. A gaunt skeletal giant with a spike through its skull, and Maru barely clears its shin. Not great. Now, claws rake the air beside him, and Maru goes down hard, clutching his chest. It's not a monster wound, it's his panic disorder, squeezing his heart shut in front of a real demon. His chest burns, he can't breathe, and then the world drops away into a heartbeat. One pounding heart, filling the dark. It melts into thick red streaks, and the streaks become a room soaked floor to ceiling in blood. Turns out Maru is standing in that room, calm as a man waiting for a bus. He isn't scared, he's hungry, and he asks himself why. Why hungry? Why now? Ankle deep in someone's blood. No answer comes. Back in the real forest, a clawed hand drips above his head while he huffs for air. The thing behind it is all shadow and wild black tendrils, red rings burning around its hands. It swipes. Maru crumples like paper. A long dark arm coils around his shoulder from behind. Then rows of jagged fangs stop an inch from his face. He can't even scream. A single orange eye blinks open in the dark fur. The mouth spreads wide, drooling, and it growls out one craving. It wants to eat. Except the mumbling isn't coming from the monster. The suited recruits stand dazed in the sepia fog while Maru bends over, clutching his head. Drool runs off his chin as he mutters that he wants to eat. Then his eyes flare and he screams it. I want to eat. When the haze finally thins, Maru is hunched over with a sick green light crawling around him. Blood drips from his mouth, and behind wet bangs, his eyes are somewhere else. He doesn't remember biting anything, so whose blood is on his teeth? Of course, that's when a finger starts poking his shoulder. Maru's giggling now, which is somehow worse. Namyosuke smirks down and asks if he's laughing because he's scared. Our boy blurts, I'm just a bit hungry. Then he panics and swears he meant it hurts, which convinces exactly no one. Yosuke files him away as a pathetic noob. Yosuke doesn't buy a word of it. One cold sidelong glance says everything he needs to know. Harsh, but fair. Now the briefing turns serious. Inside its own yellow dust, the demon regenerates almost anything you cut off. Take a fatal wound in there, Kangcha warns, and you really die. Powers only work inside that dust too. Once it clears, they're all just ordinary people again. Yosuke yawns through the whole thing. Of course, he's got commentary. He's wondering how long Kangcha plans to lecture with a live demon looming right there. Then Yosuke gets to the part he actually cares about, the way you switch the power on. He looks down, rolls it over, and decides to just show them. The demonstration isn't pretty. A scarred eye narrows. Thin threads of the demon's dust slide straight into his mouth, and blood runs down his chin. Then the power catches. Red veins crawl up his neck. His eyes glow yellow, and his clenched fist starts to shake. He tugs a black glove on behind his back, completely unhurried. Shall we start then? Fist meets fist, human against demon, and the clash wakes the thing's real power. Blood erupts from the demon's skull as it roars its ability awake. The shockwave does the rest. One recruit gets ripped off her feet mid-scream, and the others go down shielding their faces from sand and debris. So much for a demonstration. When the wind thins, one silhouette is still on its feet in the swirl. Perfectly still, and nobody can tell who it is. Screams tear out of the dust next. Two gaunt, fanged creatures rise with claws raised, all ribs and teeth. Something breaks the group like invisible shrapnel, snapping one man's head back and scattering the rest. This isn't training anymore. A dark-haired recruit in a yellow jacket snaps first and lunges, claws out. Kangcha catches her arm mid-swing, blood already spreading on his suit, shouting that she's putting everyone at risk. Then a decayed skull face pushes in close, jaws bared, right in front of them. Meanwhile, Maru's being walked forward between two blank-faced suits, hand clamped over his mouth. Everyone keeps glancing back at him and he groans through the pain. Why is everyone staring at him? Before he gets an answer, the creature's claws tear a man's arm open. Another figure drops in a spray of blood right in front of him. Then it's his turn. Pain rips through his shoulder and Maru screams, blood soaking down his sleeve. He bends over the wound, presses his palm into it, and the blood just keeps coming. A shadowy clawed shape launches at him out of the dust. What does this thing want from him all of a sudden? Maru crouches, teeth gritted, bloodied arm braced, and a whip of blood arcs through the air as it lands. The next thing anyone sees is Maru on his feet, shirt spattered red, stomping down on the thing's skull. No scream, no panic, nothing. Just then, the dust swallows everything, and something tears through it too fast to track. A gray clawed hand stretches out of the haze, long nails first. The ground splits open under one impact, debris flying everywhere. Then the thing rears up to full height. A human torso in a torn shirt, fused onto coil after coil of red centipede segments, and far too many legs. Its face is a bone-white skull, with a cross carved into the brow, and when the jaws crack open, it's all needle teeth. It charges, and the field tag names it Centipede Demon Ability User. Now look at Maru. He's crouched in the dirt, eyes glowing yellow, red feelers curling over his brow, forearms hardened into red insect claws, while the demon's own shape ghosts faintly behind him. What is this? Since when does his body grow the same weapons as the monster? He doesn't know. That's the scary part. So, someone else takes the opening. A long-haired recruit leaps over the downed bodies, claws leading. She slashes clean across the demon's face, grinning through the whole swing. She spins with a follow-through, blood whipping off her claws. The demon reels back howling, deep gashes torn across its skull. It's hurt, and it's loud about it. Of course, the celebration starts immediately. She lifts her blood-soaked hand, and whoops, we defeated it, we won. Maru kneels beside her, feelers still twitching, and manages a shaky smile. Turns out the party's early. On the demon's gray flank, a raw red mass starts bubbling, swelling, sealing the wound shut. Exactly what Kangcha warned about, because inside its own yellow dust, a demon regenerates almost anything. The thing stands back up and snarls. Nobody's cheering now. Maru's eyes flare again, red threads crawling across his cheeks, blood at the corner of his mouth. Behind him, the long-haired recruit is screaming. The demon's clawed arm whips forward, then the creature simply stops and grins, gray and still. It isn't finished, it's playing. The next swing connects. It bats the recruit out of the air, palms Maru's whole face, and launches him down the field. He sails screaming toward the gaunt pale thing from earlier, its beaked mouth already waiting. It threw him to another demon, on purpose. Maru hits the ground screaming, one eye glowing through the blood. Before he can rise, a gray arm coils around his throat from behind. He clamps his red claws onto it and squeezes, whimpering that it hurts. He rakes his claws into the side of the thing's skull. Blood and saliva spray. It grunts and the wound changes nothing. The torn mouth just opens wider. Maru breaks. Tears cut through the blood on his face as he screams for someone, anyone to save him. A black winged shape unfolds at the edge of the dust, and the demon's answer is to close its claws around his throat. A calm voice cuts through the dust. You think I'd let you go that far? A man in a suit stands there, hair wrecked, shoulders dusty, eyes glowing yellow. The field tag names Maru's attacker a Temple Demon Ability User, and below them, a masked armored figure slips onto the field. The suited man turns his back on the kneeling, coughing Maru, while a taloned shadow still looms in the haze. Honestly, he looks more bored than worried. He wets his fingertips with his tongue, slow, and his other hand is already gloved. It's the same glove he pulled on when this exercise began. The demon thrusts its claws up at him, shrieking at him to die. Its head snaps back, neck caved in by a blow nobody even saw. One rising slash splits its whole silhouette against the red haze. Then a polished shoe presses down on the dead thing's skull. Just like that. Around the field, the recruits start whispering. He took it down alone in an instant, and someone asks what level this guy even is. The dust settles, and the man in the suit just stands there, hands in his pockets. He doesn't even blink. Word ripples through the onlookers that he's a level 7 monster ability user, and one of them can't stop staring. Naturally, not everyone's impressed. A woman with a dark ponytail storms up, finger out, and snaps that he's putting everyone else at risk, pulling stunts like that out of nowhere. The veteran doesn't even take his hands out of his pockets. Meanwhile, somewhere in the dirt, a familiar voice insists he didn't break anybody's knife and demands proof. He's arguing his case while already running. Our boy Maru. Back with the recruits, Kangcha claps and says the first-timers handled it well. Then he stops mid-sentence and his eyes go narrow. A head count comes up one short. Just like that, one recruit is a blank space where a person should be. So, the missing newbie. Maru's sprinting through the woods, soaked in sweat, eyes huge, telling himself that running away is the only way to live. Feet hammer the dirt. He's not slowing down. The ponytailed woman isn't thinking about attendance though. Chin on her hand, she keeps circling circling one thought. What was that earlier? Her eye narrows, red tinged. What she remembers is dark. A figure crouched in shadow, and something standing over a body on the ground. Kangcha waves it off. He or the supervisor can go fetch one lost newbie. The woman doesn't let it go. She looks back hard and says the whole thing feels strange. Turns out she's not alone in that. Standing in the rising dust, Kangcha frowns, because now that he thinks about it, he saw something too. An old shrine gate blazing with golden light, and a man in a tropical shirt walking off into the dust storm straight toward it. At the gate, the golden light on the stone floor flares, and something's coming through it fast. A withered corpse-like thing rises out of the flames, hollow-eyed, skin cracked and charred, one clawed hand raised. It steps out gaunt and slow, trailing tattered wrappings while debris floats around it. Honestly, Maru's day can't get worse. He's flat in the bushes, hand clamped over his own mouth, watching that thing through the leaves. He finally escaped one of these monsters, so why is there another one right here? Sweat rolls, teeth grind, and he keeps dead silent. He risks a peek over the bushes. The forest path sits empty, no monster, no sound, and hope creeps in. He whispers, "Is it gone?" It's not. The giant creature is standing directly behind him, blank stone face pointed at his back. Of course he checks again, because hope dies slow. Same trail, still empty, still quiet, and the same giant still parked right behind him, close enough to touch. He has no idea. Back with the team, an inspector called Yosuk staggers in, doubled over and panting. The ponytailed woman asks him what's going on. Another officer's eyes go bloodshot wide, and she shouts, demanding to know where it appeared. Now the answer arrives on its own. A dark shape tears through the trees, hurtling past a torn warning sign at full sprint. It's Maru, shirt ripped, shoulder bloodied, running for his life. Tears and sweat stream down his face as he screams, "Please save me." Whatever's behind him, it's close, and nobody's reached him yet. Meanwhile, across the forest, Maru's luck finally runs out. The giant behind him swings, and he's launched clean off his feet, smashing into a rock hard enough to tear his shirt apart. He hits face down, teeth gritted, then drags himself upright, holding his head while the world spins. Then he spots it through the trees. An old farmhouse, quiet and untouched. He blurts that he can hide there and sprints for it with the dust storm chewing at his heels. He makes it to the doors, doubled over and gasping. What was that thing? The answer walks up, because through the swirling dust, a skeletal silhouette rises behind him, and Maru yelps out loud despite himself. So the thing shows what it is. Golden crystal shards lift into the air and orbit its bandaged stone-gray head, humming with power. Inside the dark house, a thin blade of light slips through the boards and glints off a pair of glasses. Now the real problem. An old grandmother shuffles across the yard carrying a bowl, and she hasn't noticed the dust cloud boiling up behind her. Somewhere inside that cloud, rows of cracked fangs part and start to drool. Our boy is wedged up in the rafters, gripping a beam and staring down at all of it. He's got no power and no weapon, and his brain is screaming at him to think. What can a powerless newbie actually do here? Then Kangcha's briefing flashes through his head, the part about those who receive the demon's powers. That's it, he blurts. A heartbeat later, he's down in the dark room, crouched low, arms spread, ready. Outside, the grandmother raises a fist at the dark and calls out, asking if that's Changsik's mother over there. The thing answers by echoing her own words back. Changsik's mother? Changsik's mother? Rasps a skeleton wrapped in rags, ribs pushing through rotten skin. One swipe hurls her backward through the dust, coughing, one shoe flying loose. And then the horror lands. This ragged creature really is Changsik's mother, which means Rakshasas were people once. The shards scream forward with its gaunt fist driving in behind them, all of it aimed at an old woman who can't fight back. Nothing stands between her and those blades. Then something does, and Maru's face twists shut as the impact rips into him. He's hunched over her in the settling dust, blood spreading across his shoulder, and he still manages a shaky smile as he stammers out whether she's okay. She starts to say she's fine. Then she grabs him, because his arm is soaked red down to the wrist. Maru sinks to his knees, blood dripping from his mouth, staring at the mangled arm like it belongs to someone else. "It's as worthless as my resume," he mutters, then wonders quietly whether resumes matter everywhere, even to monsters. Behind him, the bandaged creature looms close enough to breathe on his neck, growling low. The grandmother's trembling hands come up, and all she can do is whisper, "Oh no, oh no." What does she do? Maru mutters, "If anyone could just come," and no one comes. Is this really how he dies, on his knees in the dirt? Then his back tears open, blood soaking through the ruined shirt as something rips its way out from inside him. He gasps and chokes, blood trailing from his jaw. What's breaking out of his own body? His eyes flare white, fangs pushing through the blood in his mouth. He arches backward and screams, jaws wide, light pouring off him. That sound isn't human anymore. Meanwhile, a woman stands dead still in the backlight, hair stirring. Then she moves, a blur through the trees with a blade, vaulting the green fence without slowing. This is Chana Kang, and she runs toward monsters. Back in the yard, bloodshot eyes snap open, and Maru slams into the Rakshasa teeth first. He clamps onto the gaunt creature's body and hangs on with everything he's got left. Honestly, our boy just bit a monster. A watching officer goes pale and blurts, "What is that that newbie doing? The creature answers for him, hurling Maru off and slamming him into the ground in a blur of dust. So much for round 1. Maru lifts his blood-spattered face and glares through his bangs. The throw looked like a win, but the bite on the monster's torso won't close. Still bleeding raw, it growls through bloodied wrappings at damage it can't fix. The skeletal thing staggers on the rooftop while Maru lies crumpled below in his colorful jacket. Turns out flesh the newbie bites can't regenerate, and an officer shouts the discovery out loud. Somewhere behind him, another voice just screams why. Shanna doesn't wait for answers. She drops straight onto the creature, and her golden blade cracks apart against it in a spray of blood. She lands kneeling in the fire, a ghostly skeletal shape looming up behind her. So she brings down the big one, a massive jagged blade already soaked in red. The monster shrieks with its mouth split wide, then clutches its bleeding chest, claws digging into its own flesh. It staggers, and this time the damage stays. Shana's already sprinting across the rubble, blade dripping at her hip. Her eye narrows. She drops into a low combat crouch, hair whipping, gaze flat and lethal, waiting for the next opening. The blood-streaked creature rears up, clawed arms raised over its head. She's faster. Chana launches into the air and drives a flying kick straight through the shadow in front of her. Shana's kick connects, and the Rakshasa staggers, jaws still open, ready to bite back. It never gets the chance. One clean slash, and the roar drowns in its own blood. Now she lands in a crouch, sword low, blood sprayed across her face, a pained breath. Then she flicks the blade clean, eyes cold. Behind her, 2 more Rakshasas stand with heads melting into black smoke, then drop where they stand. From above, the courtyard goes quiet as one last burst of dust scatters across the stones. Chaina walks straight to the collapsed grandmother, kneels, and takes her frail hands like they're made of glass. Nearby, someone props up the dazed old man and asks if he's regaining his senses. Of course, the survivors point at her and mutter about wild things running loose out here. Chaina just smirks with her eyes closed like she's heard worse. Then she flashes a bright smile and says the public servants will handle the aftermath. Then her head whips around and the smile is gone. She plants a hand on her hip and stares down the man in the floral shirt. What's with this newbie? Maru just stands there, head down, one sleeve torn ragged at the shoulder. Except a working arm hangs out of that sleeve, the same arm a monster tore off. Someone says it out loud, his severed arm has already regrown. So, later, Maru's phone buzzes at 8:26 with an official message. It says he starts work tomorrow at the Ministry of Environment's Special Bureau for Yellow Dust Management. His hands shake around the phone. 1 day's notice? Seriously? That night, the dreams come for him. A fanged thing reaches up through the rain and a pale, bloodied figure looms over him while he sits frozen on the floor. All he can manage is a whimper. Honestly, Maru jolts awake, swinging at nothing, and blurts, "I'm definitely not going." Sure, he's desperate for a job, and the ceiling gets a long, silent stare that answers nothing. Then he pulls the blanket over his head, because sleep can figure this out. The room settles back into darkness, a thin haze curling over the bed like smoke. In the dream, his bed floats alone in a gray void, jagged black shapes waiting underneath, quiet, wrong, endless. He rips awake with a gasp, sweat running, fists locked in the blanket. It's haunted him ever since the orientation, the training that nearly killed him, and it never eases up. He raises his trembling hands and can't make them stop. So how is he supposed to report tomorrow? Morning light finally hits the window, and Maru blinks at it, surprised he slept at all. Then a low rumble rolls in from somewhere outside. He leans far out the window, gripping the frame, eyes narrowed at the dark. Naturally, the sky gives him his answer, a massive orange glow burning over the ridge. There's a fire on Chungay Mountain, and the whole street is hoping it won't spread this far. Hoping is all anyone's doing. Out in the forest, the wildfire roars through the trees. A lone figure stands in the flames with its back turned. Then something huge drops upside down through the burning canopy, a lava monster. The thing from the burning trees finally shows its face. Cracked molten rock for skin, fire bleeding through every fissure, a fanged mouth lit from the inside. It growls, low and long. Now, somebody's already fighting it. A woman in a yellow task force jacket is hurled screaming through a rain of embers. All shards rake the monster's arm and sizzle where they bite. It barely flinches. Meanwhile, a man in the same yellow uniform clasps his hands, white light pouring between his fingers as ice shards fall through the firelight. The label flashes up plain, Ice Rakshasa ability user. 2 operatives crouch at a distance, breathing ragged, as a giant translucent ice figure rises over the burning field. Then the dark-haired woman screams the part that actually matters. Rakshasas aren't supposed to appear at night. The team leader doesn't argue the mystery. He just orders everyone to stop the wildfire first. Priorities. The fire's the thing killing people right now. So one fighter crouches braced while ice erupts around him, orange energy glowing through his veins. A crystalline blade bursts out with a chain trailing behind it, and he grips it with gritted teeth. This one's his. He lunges through the icy debris, chain whipping behind the blade, fast, committed, straight at the thing's head. The monster's skull-like head turns, jaw glowing, and it does something nobody's ready for. It talks. 3 words like an order. Him. To me, it wants someone brought to it. Brought who? Nobody on this mountain has an answer, and its torso splits with molten cracks shaped like a ribcage as a half-masked fighter leaps in with twin-chain knives so fast the background streaks. Of course, the monster answers with a fist of dripping lava. Then it charges, one flaming leg stomping down in a burst of fire and raw force. For a second, it looks contained, ice on one side, blades on the other. Then light flares white, and a figure is swallowed whole by the blast. When it clears, the team leader's down, blood spreading across the chest of his yellow jacket. Someone screams his title across the field. A woman in yellow screams with her whole body, fist clenched, hair whipping in the heat. Turns out the thing wasn't even trying yet. It erupts from a rocky mound glowing molten yellow, then charges straight through its own flames. Two survivors huddle together, tiny under a crowned silhouette towering over the burning forest. One of them whispers the question nobody wants answered. Is it getting stronger? Far from the fire, Seoul headquarters cuts a lit pattern into the night sky, and its red-lit control floor is already shouting over itself. Kangcha stands in the middle of it, earpiece in, and demands the current status. The screens answer for everyone. A map of Korea drowning in red alert markers. An operator shouts into her headset that there are simultaneous incidents on 20 mountains nationwide. 20. The wall of monitors confirms the worst part. The Rakshasa's appearance pattern has completely changed. The operator's face under the headset says she knows exactly what that means. Honestly, the room tells the rest of the story. A nationwide crisis and a row of empty chairs behind her. Her hand comes down on a button on the console. Whatever that switch wakes up, they need it now. And the scene ends on a night sky over dark mountains. Quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't last. The drone feed dissolves into static. Meanwhile, down south, yellow caution tape seals off a whole forest, and a suited investigator stands at the line with a phone to his ear. The caller in Busan smirks over his drink and opens with vacation small talk. In the middle of a national emergency, Kangcha presses a hand to his head and snaps that greetings can wait. Get to the point. So here's the point. An ornate gate down south is burning with golden fire. A portal and field teams report it stayed open for 3 days straight. Kangcha's eye goes wide and bloodshot. Still open after 3 days? That's not supposed to be possible. From inside the light, something slashes and sings, "We kill and kill." A red-hooded figure drifts through the burning gate while the Jumjung Mountain team staggers out soaked in blood, dragging their own wounded, completely exhausted, every last one. The hooded thing steps out grinning, and for 1 second, it almost passes for a person. Then the cloak bursts into clawed limbs, and the pale face splits into a jagged skull mouth, screeching through rows of teeth, not human. Nearby, a schoolgirl walks toward two hooded figures with her hands out, like she knows them. Something answers in a voice no human throat makes, and her face warps and peels apart before she can even scream. The next report stops Kangcha cold. The thing is demanding they bring someone to it. He grits his teeth and shouts, "Bring who? Since when do monsters put in requests?" Meanwhile, the sky gets worse. A figure streams upward against the moon, then spreads into a winged, spider-limbed silhouette trailing golden light. Below, a lone blade stands planted point down in an empty field. As for who the creature wants brought, the man on the phone admits that's exactly what they don't know. And somewhere in the red dark, a figure walks away from a body that isn't getting up. Kangcha's done waiting. A red-sleeved hand comes down on a console button, and bloodshot eyes narrow behind strands of purple hair. HQ is calling in its strongest card. Turns out that card is already moving. A helicopter cuts low over the dark mountains, and the blue-haired officer inside picks up a call, asking what's wrong. The answer comes from a tattooed giant clinging to the outside of the same helicopter, wind and all. "I'm almost there." Naturally, seats are for other people. A slashing streak cuts the air, and suddenly a man in camo is falling headfirst past the helicopter. Far below, a pillar of light shoots up from the ground like a beacon, marking the landing zone. He falls faster and faster, then slams into the earth with a golden shockwave that ripples out in rings. The crater's still smoking when two pairs of golden eyes lock through the rushing wind. Above the mountain, the blue-haired man from the helicopter hangs in the open night sky. His boot steps down across the face of the full moon, fist clenched, coat snapping. He isn't falling, he's arriving. Down at the shrine, two exhausted survivors freeze mid-step. A silhouette now stands on the roof above them, framed dead center in the giant moon. Is that a person up there, or the next thing that kills them? No answer comes. A slash streaks past the woman's raised fist before she even sees what threw it. She blocks on pure instinct, and over a dark shoulder ahead, a blade edge gleams. Then the real horror stands up. A pale giant rises with its arms spread wide, a red hood of flesh framing a mouth that's all fangs. The woman recoils and screams. Now the hooded thing towers over the officer in the yellow jacket, a blank mask staring down from under its red cloak. She's on her knees, it doesn't hurry, so the survivors do the only thing left. Two of them climb the slope together, one hand clamped hard around the other's arm. Nobody's letting go tonight. Honestly, this mountain already belongs to the creature, and everyone bleeding on it knows that. Then the blue-haired man raises both hands, and purple sparks crawl across his palms. The sky itself rips open along a jagged violet crack, a full spatial tear. He slashes straight through the burst, and blood sprays where the monster thought nothing could reach it. His clawed hand comes away dripping. Up on the rooftop, his silhouette pins the tentacled creature against the moon and holds it there. Below, an officer in glasses and the woman just stare, mouths open. What kind of person tears space open with his bare hands? A clawed agent walks up to the battered group and tells them plainly, "You've all worked hard. He'll handle it from here, they should take a break." Just like that, the end of the world turns into a shift change. Meanwhile, the same story repeats across the country. A gray-haired man in camouflage carves through the smoke with a curved whip blade. A hooded figure crouches low and pours purple beams into the ground, and the light converges from the moon onto a mountain peak. More pillars of violet light stab upward into the dark. The whole mountain glows and crackles with lightning, while a spiky-haired figure watches from below. Farther back, a small group stands in silence and watches it burn across the sky. An officer in glasses hears the report and blurts out, "Rifts?" Her colleague confirms it happened close by, and he's heard talk of someone with spatial abilities. Of course, the rumor's already moving faster than the official report. And far from the fires, a robed figure stands alone among tall bamboo pillars in a purple-lit grove. Face hidden, back turned, nobody sees who he is. Then another mountain goes up. A fireball bursts from the slope, and flames tear through the forest below it. Inside the blaze, a monster of black rock and molten cracks roars and clenches its fists. Bad news. The night isn't over. So, back on the burning mountain, the task force is losing. An officer staggers through the flames, hand raised, barely able to breathe. A big man stands over a fallen colleague and asks if this is the end for them. No one answers. One teammate screams at Mr. Lee to run, to snap out of it. He doesn't move, and below them, something with a glowing orange mouth full of fangs rises out of the fire. Then Mr. Lee's eyes go sharp, and light erupts from his fists. His whole body wraps itself in golden flame, arms raised to the sky. When the glare fades, a thing with burning white hair is walking through the fire. His teammate can only think one thing. Is that still Mr. Lee? Now the fire line collapses. A molten fist smashes clean through the ice barrier, and the ice user takes the hit with gritted teeth. Another officer is flung backward through a wall of flame. The strongest shield on this mountain just cracked. Blood drips into the dirt, and the burning thing reaches for its next kill. Except the darkness in front of it tears open, and a man with purple hair steps out of the rift. The spiked claw comes down at him. It stops. He's caught the monster's skull with one bare hand. One motion, and the whole mountainside feels it. Streaks rip across the dusk sky, and birds scatter off the peaks. Turns out the lava creature is the one leaking now, steam hissing from the cracks in its own body. And the ace just stands there, camo jacket half off his shoulder, looking up at the thing. Of course he's smirking. Honestly, he treats a walking volcano like paperwork, lifting one open palm toward it. Behind him, survivors can only whisper that it's reassuring to have someone like that leading them. Then the sky itself answers. A directive flashes across the storm clouds under the full moon. Activate all units. Every ability user in the country is being mobilized at once, and somewhere out there, another lone mountain waits in the dark. Because not every mountain gets a savior. On one of them, a young man blocks a monster's claw from the ground, his arm shaking under the weight. His hand reaches toward the clawed one as his heartbeat stutters. Then the blade drives through his body, and his scream drowns in blood. The thing that killed him burst onward through a corridor of purple light, ribs showing, claws out. A location tag names yet another mountain. This is happening everywhere at once. Meanwhile, on Jeju Island, Hala Mountain cracks. A pale figure with two long limbs reaches out of a black seam in the air, and purple beams erupt from the ground around the onlookers. People stumble back, asking what that thing is. The beams climb into the night sky, then slowly thin out. Far away, Kangcha watches those lights and smiles with his eyes closed. He says it's proof that he has arrived safely. The lights aren't an attack, they're an arrival. Beside that glow, a blue-haired man stares down into the dark and says nothing. Horned silhouettes gather against the night sky, one creature after another. Someone runs straight across the dusty battlefield beneath their giant shadows, not away from the monsters, toward them. It's the purple-haired ace again, wrapped in crackling violet energy, and he asks the field one polite question. Shall we begin? The nearest monster answers with a roar that shakes the ground, and a skeletal horror lunges straight at him. His hand comes up through the blood spray as the blue creatures charge him, mouths open and screaming. One arc of a glowing purple blade. Just like that, the whole pack falls apart in halves. One man is clearing a national crisis by hand. The glowing blade drops one last time and cuts the clash apart. Lava armor on one side, black spikes on the other. The survivors at the tree line scream their throats raw. Nobody blames them. Now the pinned creature should be dying. Instead it growls out something that almost lands as words. The ace leans right into its jaws, unbothered, and snaps at the dark-haired woman behind him. Translate. He grabs the thing's spiked skull bare-handed, molten heat and all. No fear. Through cracked glowing teeth it forces out one demand. Bring him him, bring him to me. The creature keeps rambling. Who is him? That's the husband. Scraps of other people's sentences in the wrong mouth. Nearby stands a woman whose eyes are burned clean away, the rest of her face untouched. So the verdict comes down cold. It isn't asking for anyone, it's only mimicking our language. Somewhere in the dust, a figure in a school uniform stands and watches, face hidden. The ace hums that there's no helping it then. Molten fire erupts and swallows the creature whole, and golden flame climbs the great temple gate behind it, since that door needs dealing with too. So he crouches low, palm braced on the grass. A heartbeat later, a pillar of purple lightning rips out of the old shrine and guts the night sky. Far away, onlookers gasp and point. One man covers his mouth while a woman smiles, saying it's reassuring that such a person leads them. Up close, the source of all that is almost calm. His hair whips, his stare never wavers, and dark violet energy floods out of his raised palm. Then the light dies, and he's simply gone. Two agents blink at empty forest and stammer. No sound, no goodbye. Meanwhile, back at the glass tower, the heroics find their ceiling. An agent with a purple bun digs her heels in at a doorway, swearing she'd rather die than go in there, while a man lies flat out on the floor beside her. Of course, the surveillance room barely looks up from its wall of monitors. She's being dramatic again, apparently. Honestly, Nam Yosuk might be the real casualty here. He slumps back against the server racks, tie loose, groaning that one man has limits, and he's overwhelmed running everything alone. Above him, a screen loads a grid of ID photos, the incoming recruits. Kangsha asks for the information on those recruits. Rows of stiff suits and identical haircuts fill the wall, except one photo has no face, no eyes, no mouth, nothing, and not a single person in the room seems able to see it. Then the mood turns. Monstrous faces crowd a blood-red gloom. Horned ones, skull ones, packed tight and waiting. Whatever's coming for this new class, it's already close. Morning Gangwa Island, a plain government building, sits under a sign promising a city full of love, headquarters of the Dust Emergency Department. Hanmaru stands beneath the flagpole in a stiff black suit, staring the place down. He's finally here, and he's trembling before he even touches the door. 4 straight years of rejections bought him this doorstep, so why does the doorway ahead of him look this dark? Because one memory keeps his feet planted. His mom crying into her fist, barely getting the words out. My son got a job in the government. She wept from pure happiness, and how's he supposed to walk away from that? That memory is the whole reason he's still standing here. No matter what the job turned out to be, he couldn't quit on her now. Then the story cuts somewhere colder. A voice calls out, "Team leader," and a dark-haired man turns with a hard stare, blood dotting his collar. A man in a floral shirt grins wide and pulls open a door. Behind it, a nightmare. A red-haired man in a suit stands rigid in the dark, faceless shapes pressing in around him. In a blood-soaked room, a smiling family carves up a body with knives and a saw. A dark-haired young man stares at it, bloodshot, frozen. He can't look away. Whoever owns this memory, it never left them. Then it's just morning at the Gangwa office. The floral shirt guy strolls in, yawning like none of that ever happened. Maru scratches his neck, because this isn't what he had expected from monster hunting headquarters. So, introductions. Miss Yoon Ji-won, 7 years of civil service, sips her drink without a word, and Inspector Nam Yosuk, turquoise hair and all, smirks at his monitor like deadlines are a rumor. The floral shirt team leader flicks water off his fingers and asks if they know what to do. A coworker snaps right back. Anything else to say, old man? So that's the level of discipline here. Meru settles at his desk, a white-gloved hand resting near a keyboard beside him. Were they all this nervous on their first day too? He decides not to bother anyone, then waves anyway, and Yosuk's eyes narrow at him sideways. Across the room, a worker mutters, "What's the big deal with the reinforcement team?" He leans over the cubicle wall with a timid, "Hey, sir." Yosuk just sinks deeper into his headphones. The answer belongs to Kongcha, only those level 7 and above. Behind the crowd looms the image of a masked giant, wide as a wall. That's what they're measuring against. One suited man shouts and points, sweating through his collar. But honestly, look at this office. One guy's asleep with his feet up on a cabinet, and the rest aren't even pretending to work. Meanwhile, a woman with soaked black hair towels off right there in the office. It's Chaina, and she says there's no point in going home anyway. Yosuk yawns behind the divider like that's the most normal thing in the world. Maru finally tells Yosuk the weird part. He woke up out there with zero memory of what happened. His eyes water as it lands. That means fighting for his life. Naturally, Yosuk's chair rolls back a full meter. No words, just distance. And then, just like that, the dread evaporates. Maru lounges with his coffee, practically drooling over how easy this desk life is. At a huge salary, and isn't this basically a dream job? Of course, the team leader can't leave the rookie alone. He saunters over grinning and asks how the first day went. Any questions? Rookie bait. Maru raises a hand. There is one thing he's been wondering about. A coworker in a white shirt freezes mid-breath. The answer comes back casual as weather. A Rakshasa is just something that comes from above, apparently. That answer doesn't comfort anyone. Maru sits alone at his desk, sweat sliding down his cheek, and the thought just slips out. Maybe humanity really is doomed. Meanwhile, headquarters is still awake, its tower glowing against the night sky. A masked agent in a red suit walks a dark corridor alone and boards an elevator. The display blinks a B and a question mark, a floor that's not on any map. snap. She steps into a dim industrial hall where something huge hangs overhead in the dark. A man in a suit stands waiting, arms crossed, and asks what she thinks. Now deeper in, a dark-haired man reaches toward a wall of golden light. Thick glowing clouds boil up around his hand and swallow the whole chamber. A purple-haired officer stares into the glare and wonders if this means they're getting closer. Then the clouds part on enormous fiery wings, chained and streaked with rain. Across the chamber, a man in black reaches up toward a second pair, white as bone and chained just the same. Headquarters keeps winged things in its basement and nobody upstairs has a clue. Kangcha walks out ahead of his aide with one order. Team leaders stay alert. His hand never leaves his pocket on the way down the hall. He's not acting like that thing will stay chained. Back on Manhwa Island, the team's answer to Doomsday is a barbecue. Meat sizzles, drinks pour, and someone declares that if that day's coming, they need to party more. It's Maru's welcome dinner. The whole office crammed around one table. Of course, our boy grabs meat straight off the grill and pays for it. Eyes wide, mouth open, steam and all. Worth it. Then the room drops away from him. Red lanterns in the dark, monsters and swordsmen tearing into each other under a blood-red sky. A clawed beast swings at his head as a blade of light flashes past. Maru snaps back to the table, sweating, drooling mid-chew. Where's this coming from? Naturally, the party doesn't let him sit in it. Jiwon raises her glass with a fierce grin and orders one shot for everyone. Drink until you puke. One coworker wants to go home, another begs for moderation since there's work tomorrow, and nobody listens. Far from the restaurant, the mountains sit black and empty. A clawed limb bursts from the ridge in a blast of golden fire, looking unstoppable. Then a red slash rips clean through it because something up there is already fighting back. So, on another dark ridge, the ground itself starts tearing. Clawed limbs punch up through glowing soil more and more until the buildup snaps. A massive explosion rips the mountain open and reveals a huge glowing sphere of a creature. Every phone at the table shrieks at once, a red warning triangle on every screen. Jiwon's eyes narrow over her glasses. Yosek stiffens, and one pair of pink eyes stops blinking. Danger on his welcome night? Honestly, everyone thought tonight's shift was supposed to be the boring kind. So much for the party. Chana is on her feet before anyone finishes reading the alert. Yosa grips the cloth in his fist and blurts, "Miss, I'll go with you." She gives him one word, no. Yosuke stands alone in the dark after she's gone, eyes down, nothing left to say. So the inspector got left behind, and somehow it's Maru slumped in the passenger seat instead. He's half asleep against the window when Shayna calls his name, and he jolts upright with a stammered yes. She's saying something about not worrying, and he's already lost. Now her eyes glow pink in the red dash light, and the job gets brutally simple. Locate the Rakshasa on the map and kill it. Then she adds that he seems to have a special ability, and she's looking forward to seeing it. Nobody's ever called him special before, so our boy actually blushes. Because she's seen it, the night he blacked out and tore a monster apart with his own teeth, eyes glowing, leaving a corpse with a torn face and a bamboo spear. She's never seen anyone binge that well, she says. Maru just blinks at her. Binge, what's that supposed to mean? She smirks and names it plainly, the ability to literally eat Rakshasas. Maru goes white, stammering, sweat rolling down his face. The car just hums along an empty road while storm clouds pile up ahead. Turns out the fighting was never going to be his part of the job. A Rakshas thrashing in the night trees, and Chana rams her weapon straight into its mouth and snaps, "Shut up." Then she turns to her rookie, and Maru gags because he's supposed to eat this thing. Meanwhile, she's grinning like it's great news, because from what they've observed, flesh he eats can't regenerate for a week. That's the entire plan. She holds the monster's severed arm right up to his face. Maru grips the severed arm and talks himself into it. He has powers, so he has to use them, and she said he was special, the monster still screaming around her blade. Then he bites. Of course, one timid nibble doesn't count. Chana shoves the meat deeper and yells, "Bite it with resolve." He chews through tears while she keeps shouting at him to eat, and that's his welcome to training. Later, back at the office, Maru's collapsed face down on his keyboard, groaning that he's dying of pain. He wants to know what they even expect from him. A coworker jabs a finger at the answer. Kang is training him personally now, and he's the only one left. Another coworker walks off muttering something with incompetent in it. Maru's jaw tightens. He heard that. Then the alarm on the wall starts rattling, glowing red, screaming through the office. Chana's on her feet shouting his name. Han Maru. No answer, just an empty chair where the rookie should be. Honestly, you can't blame him. He's in the bathroom bent over the toilet, gripping his own hair. Can he really eat a Rakshasa while he's fully conscious? He mutters that sure, he has an ability, but it isn't exactly a great one. Chana finds him there and just sighs, arms crossed, staring sideways at her one and only trainee. He looks up with a weak, questioning face. No sympathy coming. Maru just blinks at her. Chana's already moved on, waving something small between two fingers and laying it out plain. He has has powers, so he uses them. Across town, a man in sunglasses murmurs into a phone in a dark alley. His eyes stay locked on a hooded figure shuffling away, a man with no idea he's being tailed. Of course, back inside, the sympathy portion of the evening is over. Shauna stands right over him and tells him he's off the team if he can't do his job. One of them is in dress shoes, the other in white Crocs, and honestly, that detail makes the standoff funnier. He pushes back anyway, and now they're forehead to forehead, neither one giving an inch. She snaps, "We're not that short of staff." Then she whips around, hair cutting through the air, and walks. Conversation over. Now at the office, Maru stands alone in the hallway with his back turned while footsteps echo closer. Seen from above, two figures close the distance down the long corridor, him and her. The office runs its normal daytime shift, desks full, sun on the windows. Then night falls and she's the last one there, lit only by her monitor, coworkers reduced to pure black silhouettes. Something about it feels wrong. So evening traffic hums across the big bridge over the bay, where one man dressed all in black just stands at the railing staring down at the water. And here comes our boy, arms stretched over his head, laughing to himself that being watched for life still beats dying in a fight. His feet stop dead on the pavement. He turns, checks the walkway, checks the railing where the man in black was just standing. Wait, where did he go? Then his phone rings, a cheerful voice from his mom's hiking trip saying they're up on Inwang Mountain, a woman calling out somewhere behind the speaker. The line cuts mid-sentence. Maru screams into the dead phone. What? Hello? Nothing? Yellow dust on the mountains. He repeats it with sweat sliding down his face because that is the mountain his mom is standing on right now. Why did the call drop? Why now? Meanwhile, up in that same dust, the yellow uniforms are working the forest. One of them suddenly launches off the ground, shouting for everyone to move, and a senior stabs a finger at him and barks, "Rookie, what are you doing?" Two more task force workers push toward a dark hollow in a tree. Neither of them looks up. Right above their heads, something crouches in the branches, pressing a blood-soaked rag to its mouth. Turns out it's already fed. The teeth are bared and dripping, and when the face finally comes into view, there's blood smeared around the mouth and a pale mark glinting on its forehead. It's been eating someone. And Maru's already moving. He hurls himself forward, suit flying open, tie whipping, mouth wide in a shout, while the city behind him smears into a blur. Up the mountain, it's a massacre in progress. One worker in yellow crouches over a bleeding comrade, while another man lies dead in the grass, and a massive demon leans over them, a gem glowing in its forehead. It's just a level 5, that's what the report said, and that's exactly the lie getting people killed. The wounded man screams flat on his back, blood on his glove. Through the smoke, another worker throws out a hand, and identical copies of him rise up on every side. A duplication Rakshasa ability user, and today he needs every single copy. One of them bolts past a fallen teammate, shouting back that he understands, team leader. Deeper in the overgrowth stands a rusted warning sign. Prohibited zone, government property, no public access. This thing was supposed to stay locked in there. So the emergency call comes in the old way. A worker slams open a dusty phone box and screams into the receiver. Smartphones are dead inside the yellow dust. Of course, the one phone that still works is a rusty landline. Meanwhile, at headquarters, a pointer taps a glowing map. The green zone is the demon's cage. In the yellow zone right beside it is a public hiking trail. If the demon crosses that line, it walks straight into civilians. Down in the city, the street looks like any other afternoon. A parent holds a child's hand under a humming CCTV camera. Then an eye cracks open in the dark. A heartbeat later, that same street is blood, bodies, and an overturned van. The warning already came true. A blood-soaked bag lies by a bench with nobody left to claim it. Back at headquarters, a commander stands against blood-red light and barks the order. Get to the site this instant and deal with the demon. Now cars are tearing down the forest road toward the mountain, and our boy Maru is sprinting on foot, still in his suit, bag whipping behind him. His mom is hiking that exact mountain, so nothing else registers. At the trailhead, a sign spells it out. Hiking trail temporarily closed. He reaches the crowd of evacuated hikers and scans them once, then twice. Same faces both times. Where is she? Why isn't she coming down with the rest? Panic wins, and he screams, "My mom's not here." A worker in yellow blocks his path, warning him wild animals make the area dangerous. Maru doesn't slow down. He snaps back that it's not an animal, it's a demon, and tears right past him. The trail is sealed, so he takes the cliff instead. Down below, workers pass the fence line, blind to the man clawing up the rock face above them. He drags himself over a ledge, teeth gritted, dust in his eyes. Deeper in, a haze is still settling between the trees, where something heavy came down. Higher up the trail, a woman hiker sits with a swollen ankle. A stranger in a red hoodie and black bucket hat crouches down and checks it. She winces, then gets one look at him and melts, sparkles and all. Honestly, ma'am, wrong moment. The stranger isn't smiling back. He shields his eyes and squints at a shape crouched deep in the haze. His stare hardens, then a dark clawed limb comes ripping forward through the dust. Meanwhile, Maru's eyes are bloodshot, his shirt torn, his whole body shaking from the climb. Then he finally spots her, and the scream for his mom tears out of him raw. From the ledge above, the bucket hat man looks down at him and cups his hands. He bellows, "What about your job?" Fair question. Maru abandoned his post to be here. Maru hauls himself over the edge and roars back that right now none of that matters. His fist clenches until until it shakes. He begged 4 years for that job, and he'd drop it in a second for her. Then his head snaps up. Something dark is crawling through the branches right above him. It's here. The thing is right on top of him, and Maru's got nothing. He crouches low, one hand up like a claw. Like that'll help. Inside he's spiraling. What's he supposed to do here? How can someone like him ever save his mom? Meanwhile, down the slope, a dark-haired hiker sways on the cliff edge, clutching his chest. The crowd starts pointing, asking why he's acting so strange, worried he's about to fall. It's worse than a fall. His body convulses, head thrown back, tie tearing off as something twists him from the inside. What straightens up isn't a man anymore. It's all fangs and bloodshot eye, drool swinging from a mouth mid-roar. A huge clawed arm slams down, and the ground beneath it just erupts. One bystander can only stand there, frozen. The shockwave reaches Maru before he can brace. He screams no as he's flung backward through the air. Then he crashes, and the impact drags him skidding across the ground. Now the man in the red jacket is screaming too, one hand stretched toward the golden blaze. The creature's fang jaws snap open right in their faces. Maru's face is already streaked with blood. One burst of force hurls both men through the air together. Then the ground itself goes up, a blast that digs a fresh crater. Maru comes to crawling, blinking through the smoke. He freezes. A hulking beast with spikes down its back is crouched just ahead. Behind him, the red jacket man screams Maru's name and asks what that strange beast is. Great question. Before anyone answers, shards fire. Jagged projectiles rip past Maru and launch him spinning into the sky, blades wheeling around his body, and down below, someone in a hat just stands there, watching. Silent. Mid-air, something clicks. He knows these blades. The demon he fought back then used this exact ability. The memory floods in, his back torn open, a shard slicing into his shoulder, blades hovering an inch from his skull. By every rule, this is where a level 1 dies. Turns out the shards don't cut him. They slow, then settle into a calm orbit around his open hand. They obey. Why can he use that demon's ability, and why can he even control it? Because he ate it. He remembers biting into the demon's flesh, black energy bursting from the wound. His power is supposed to stop demons from recovering by eating them. Sweat cuts down his face as more shards scream past his head. He ducks, and then his fists clench. Maybe this ability is exactly how he kills that demon. Our boy finally stops shaking and decides. A heartbeat later, the horned beast is the one on the ground. It's bleeding around the horns, one claw raised to guard its face. Bad move. Meanwhile, by a chain link fence, a man in a tan uniform crouches with his head down. Something rattles close by. Sweat slides down his face, and his narrowed eyes say he already knows what's out there. Elsewhere, a bald official shouts himself hoarse, and the man in maroon beside him just glares. A survivor is screaming through the memory of the attack. He was scary. He wiped out our team. Then the detail that lands cold. That team's leader is a level 7 ability user. Back in the dust, the horned Rakshasa stops waiting. Red haze boils around its gray bulk, and its whole back erupts. Jagged stone spikes tear free and launch straight at Marrow. He looks up a heartbeat too late. An instinct answers for him. A blast of light rips the volley apart mid-air. For half a second, he's actually holding his own. Then claws rake past his neck from nowhere, and blood bursts from his mouth. Shard fragments sit buried in his shoulder and cheek, the exact kind he just fired. Did that thing just use the same ability as him? The monster springs again while Maru braces under it, glowing and half-wrecked. Footsteps crunch through the shattered crystal around him, and the truth lands cold. This thing copies its opponent. Now the dust parts on something worse. A huge tusked brute looms over the people nearby, flexing its claws wide open. His family reaches him first, dropping to their knees as he bleeds into the grass, a woman sobbing into her hands. His uncle grabs his shoulder, voice cracking, shouting that Maru's bleeding. Maru gets up anyway. He bites down on his torn, bloodied shirt and rips it loose. Blood on his teeth and something like a grin under it. No one is coming, so one thought holds him upright. I have to protect Mom. So he snaps his arm out and orders them to take Auntie and hide. Right now, his uncle barely gets out a what, shielding the woman behind him before the ground itself moves. One stomp, and a body goes flying across the field. Maru's gone with it, dragged away at brutal speed, fists locked in the creature's hide. His uncle screams and reaches after him, and all that's left is a field of scattering birds. Far from anyone, Maru lies bleeding on rock, the cliff face scarred by claw gouges. Then the edge gives out, and he drops toward the brush where something dark already crawls. It's waiting. A slash hisses past his neck, and he coughs blood into the dirt. Then he's on hands and knees, breath ragged, crawling through the dust on pure stubbornness. He keeps moving. Honestly, he's not trying to win this. His back is shredded open, and the creature's still out there. But if he can just buy time, the Inwang Mountain team will come for sure. But can he stay upright that long? Meanwhile, two men in suits stand watching through the smoke, faces giving away nothing. Below, three clawed monsters converge on bodies sprawled in the grass, and a man in a yellow jacket lies soaked in red. He isn't getting up. The two suits simply turn and walk off across the field, side by side, unhurried. Ahead of them, the three hulking monsters straighten up, each with the same gem set into its forehead, identical. Turns out that's what stops them. The one in the burgundy suit counts the creatures off, asking how Rakshasas can look exactly the same. The bald one turns to speak, and another suit just rubs his chin, because monsters aren't supposed to come in matching sets. Naturally, the wild-haired one in the dark coat skips the analysis. He clenches both fists, grinning like a maniac, and roars, "Let's just kill them all." Subtle. Meanwhile, the veterans take the loud one at his word. The copies ring the man in the burgundy suit from every side, and he just cocks his fist. One punch, the shockwave alone flings half the pack into the sky. Bodies spin off through the dust, and the hillside rips open where the blow lands. He snatches the next creature by the skull in mid-leap, while behind him, a bald colleague calmly works through a snack. Of course, to these veterans, this is a Tuesday. Across the field, Maru stands on a rock spine, driving crystal shards down into the bald Rakshasa below. Except Maru's body is paying full price for it. Blood runs from his mouth and his shoulders split open. He limps along the rock wall, muttering that this is one big headache. Then he freezes, because a voice from somewhere old keeps asking, "What's wrong, Maru?" And he answers it screaming, pointing into the dust, swearing that thing will never get near his mom. Now the horned goblin thing lunges, and Maru's blade shards streak out to meet it. Every single one misses. It crouches there untouched, in a neat ring of knives stuck in the dirt. Talons whip back at his face before he can reload. He takes it bleeding, jaw clenched, then drops low and hurls himself off the ground, screaming at the thing to just get hit. No more aiming. Claws rip down, grasped hairs, and when it settles, the ape thing is flat on its back with a knife buried in its shoulder. It howls hard enough to rattle the valley. Maru pumps his fist and whoops, "Yes, I hit it once," grinning through a blood-spattered face. Turns out one hit buys him nothing. The monster pulls the blade out of its chest, and the gash starts sealing while Maru drags a bloody shard out of his own shoulder. Same ability, so why can't he beat its regeneration speed? That's when a short-haired woman strolls out of the dust, tugging her waistband like she wandered in from a nap. And it's Chana. Maru lies flat in the grass, hand over his face, asking himself if he's even built for this field. He can't fight, so what was the badge even for? She snaps her fingers in front of his nose, and his eyes go wide. He scrambles up and grabs at her wrists, because her hands are locked in cuffs behind her back, chain and all. So Maru's still wincing, because gluttony or not, a knife wound hurts exactly the same. He grips the cuffs and blurts, "I'm really sorry," then scratches his head, sweating, stammering that he never actually learned how to fight. Chana's already thinking it through, finger on her chin. Killing a Rakshasa means taking its head, because the head is what keeps pumping out yellow dust. Then she looks at Maru, bowed low and groaning, and rules him a supporter, not a damage dealer, no killing power at all. Naturally, she just smiles, raises one finger, and calls herself the strongest one here, pink light rising in her eyes. Maru eyes the dust and answers with one word, Rakshasas, because there's a whole field of them. And privately, he knows his healing ability really is the best there is, as long as he isn't afraid. His fist won't stop shaking, and blood keeps spreading across his chest. Shard debris rains down around him as he grips his torn collar. That healing needs him calm, and right now, calm isn't happening. Now the monster hauls itself over the ledge, teeth bared, glowing marks on its skull. Cutting its neck is the only kill that counts, and our boy's aim is garbage. So he stands there bleeding, blood dripping off his lip, chewing one thought over. If aiming is hard, then what? The thing grins down at him and croons, asking what's wrong, Maru. It knows his name. How does a Rakshasa know his name? He stops trying to be a sniper. There's only one way, he decides, and hurls a whole fan of blades in a wide, sweeping arc. The volley drives it into range, and the fight turns into a blur. He's bent double and bleeding when the creature dives at him, claws out. Its fanged mouth fills his vision, one eye glowing through the dust. Then the monster jerks in shock, because his hand's already gripping the next blade. If aiming is hard, he thinks, and launches himself, knife raised over his head, tie flying. The monster's down, a glowing gash across its skull, and Maru's foot is already rising. His whole strategy comes out in one line, "I'll just stab it myself." So he swings the blade down mid-air with everything his torn body has left, and his foot slams down after it. Honestly, it's the least graceful winning move imaginable, and it lands. Just like that, it's over. He grins through bloodied teeth and tells the corpse he won. The word barely lands before he's doubled over, coughing up blood. Except the corpse moves. A clawed hand closes around his collar and hoists him off the ground, still coughing. The creature drags him to its fangs and rasps, "Why are you like this, Maru?" It knew him. From where? He gets no time to ask, because claws rake in, jaws crowd his face, and a limb slams down hard enough to crack the rock. The next blow launches him across the slope, tie-whipping, blood trailing. The creature comes crashing through the rubble right behind him. Then he's pinned under rock, gasping that he can't breathe, and the old panic climbs into his chest. Under the rubble, tears streaking his face, he makes the call. Gluttony. Flesh he devours can't grow back, so he has to eat this guy right now. He sinks his fangs into the creature's neck, and the thing convulses. He screams, grips its shoulder, refuses to let go. Then a blade rips across it so hard the wall behind them shatters. But when he staggers back, his hand comes away from his own neck soaked red. He got bitten too, deep. The world tilts, his vision smears, and he crashes to his knees with blood pouring down his chest. His mind jumps straight to the obvious question. Did that bite just copy his gluttony too? A shaking hand crawls across the dirt toward another, blood pooling between them. Now a fresh horror rises from the haze, a gray-horned brute stomping through the dust. Next thing he knows, he's flat on the grass, tie loose, shirt filthy, breathing hard. What knocked him out this time? He jolts upright before his eyes even focus, and someone's standing right over him. Honestly, he can barely force the words out. It's a panic disorder. He can't control it. His chest locks tight, hand shaking against his own tie, like his heart's punching to get out. Of course, she's got zero patience for that. She snaps at him, fists on her hips, red eyes blazing, then push through it harder. He slumps back down, tie hanging loose, dust settling over him. Meanwhile, somewhere past the smoke, a voice calls his name. Someone's crashing through the haze, shouting for Maru, boots pounding, refusing to stop. They find him kneeling by broken rock, blood running down the side of his head. He grips a blood-slick knife and doesn't let go. Above him, a masked thing rises on twin blades. He screams back anyway, "Even if I die, I'm taking you down." He staggers on through the smoke, shirt in ribbons, a fresh gash bleeding down his cheek. The creature lunges from behind, claws out, jaws wide. It catches him mid-stride, and he goes down hard. Claws sink into his chest. He still answers with a defiant grunt. Well, pinned from behind, he swings a jagged shard up and drives it straight down. It splits the rock beside him wide open. The creature freezes and finally asks the question that's been chasing him all fight. "Why are you doing this, Maru?" Now he doesn't answer, just grits his teeth and grabs hold. He wrenches the fight back his way, screaming through the pain. Its huge jaw hangs open right behind him, and its claws rake down his back. He clenches his jaw and takes it done running. You'd bet on the monster right about now. Then he wrenches the buried shard free and drives it up through its back in one motion. Its head comes away, and blood pours down over both of them. Just like that, it's over. Two smoking halves roll to a stop in the dust, only a bloody print left behind. He sits there beside the wreckage, shredded armor hanging off his shoulders. Finally, he lets it out. I won. He drops flat on his back, arm flung out, chest heaving. Then a dark, toothy mouth cracks open in the rocks behind the dust. It's not over. Meanwhile, Kengcha grips a beaten Rakshasa, blood running down his fist. It lets slip talk of a main body, so the thing they're hunting is still out there. Behind him, a bald agent in a dark suit hauls two limp bodies away by the hair. Now Meru presses a shaking hand to his torn shoulder. Under his palm, the wound is already knitting itself shut. He's dead, good, but this time Meru really thought he was going to die. Then a memory surfaces. Small shoes on a dirt path, and let's go to mom, she'll be worried. Back in the present, Maru stands bloodied and blank, a red silhouette rising at his back. Somewhere inside him, a child is crying. A fist rises, a hand grabs his collar, and the fragments vanish before he can hold one. He ends up on the ground, tears cutting through the blood, whispering, "How come I've forgotten what was just there in his head?" The Rakshasa's headless body lies smoking beside him. Honestly, the math is simple. That thing was strong, and its ability was unique. Eat it, gain it. A dinner memory floats up, a grinning man claiming Rakshasa will rain from the sky within a year. A prophecy ability holder said so. If that's coming, staying weak isn't an option. So he crouches beside the corpse, torn sleeve dripping, and reaches out, words trailing off. A moment later, he's sitting over the body, shirt shredded, blood pooled across the floor. A fresh claw wound runs across his nose, and one eye glows yellow through the blood. He raises a hand to his bleeding face and makes himself a promise. From now on, any strong Rakshasa he meets, he eats. Days later, a long-haired survivor jolts awake in a hospital bed. Blood streaked down his neck. All he's sure of is that he fainted on the mountain. Of course, soon he's munching snacks in his gown, telling his visitor he remembers nothing. Maru double checks. Really nothing at all? Relief spreads across his face. Then it flips to open horror, because some part of this is already too late. Except the memory isn't gone clean. Claws lunging, a fanged mouth mid-roar, a man screaming. Flashes with no owner. The survivor blinks at them, and Maru tells him not to worry about it. Naturally, the news runs its own version. A fire on Inwang Mountain. A few hikers injured. Maru leaves him with one instruction. Don't go to the mountains anymore. But out in those scorched woods, Dusk finds a child standing alone between the trees. Up close, a strange black mark sits under one eye, beside a drop of blood and a dead stare. Fresh blood spatters across torn white cloth, and this isn't finished. A monster grips someone bleeding, horns catching the dark. Blood drips slow, one drop at a time, onto the ground below. Something flashes through his mind, gone as fast as it came. He staggers, sweat cold on his neck. Wait, what was that? Meanwhile, at the hospital, the patient leans in with a question. Namyosak waves it off, chin on his hand, easy smile. No, don't worry, he says. Then his face goes white. Now Yoonji-won isn't done either. She scolds Channa Kang for slacking after all that overindulging. Channa swears she never touched a drop. A level 2 alert cuts the scolding short. Channa grabs her coat and bolts, promising to hear the rest later. Somewhere close, something lands hard. Every head in the office turns turns at once. Miles away, a mountain range waits under open sky. So the climb begins, 3 yellow jackets working a steep trail. Channa pushes ahead, breathing hard, face dark under the sun. Instead of me, she mutters and doesn't explain. She walks on alone. Someone jogs to catch up, trying to explain the harsh things said earlier. The words die fast. Boots step onto the path ahead. A stranger grins, and his teeth aren't human. Channa goes still, eyes cutting sideways, sensing a shift in the air. The 3 of them close ranks, walking shoulder to shoulder now. Something in the trees is about to move. It bursts through the trees before they're ready, a hulking mass of gray muscle. Ready to fight, it growls, fog churning behind it. Channa warns him flatly, don't take level 2 lightly. His mind drags back to Inwang Mountain. A level 5 Rakshasa alone wiped out a whole team there. If level 5 did that, what's level 2 capable of? Turns out headquarters handled the rest, somebody says beside him. Yosuke whistles, calling the mystery officer amazing, above average for a rookie. Maru's stomach drops. Since when does saving people sound like running away? Honestly, the guy saved the mountain, and people think he ran. Dust kicks up, and all 3 brace on instinct. Then the monster crouches low and starts rubbing its own armpits, of all things. Nobody can explain why. Naturally, a clawed hand shoots toward Channa and Yosuke, and both flinch back hard. Maru shoves between them, arm thrown wide, telling them both to get back. He's fighting this one. He grins, fanged and fierce, and throws the first punch. The thing just hunches there, scarred hide thick, arms crossed like it barely feels it. This isn't going well. Maru grips his own skull, teeth gritted, forcing something loose inside. His arm snaps out, and a thread whips free like a blade. Not useless, not anymore. Well, he crosses his arms as green gas pours from somewhere close, thick and fast. It wraps around the monster's face before it can dodge. It screams, clawing at its own skin now, not the other way around. The smell hits first, thick and rancid, rolling off the creature in front of him. He gags hard, nearly throws up mid-fight, but he won't lose to something this disgusting. So he charges with a glowing fist, striking on the move so the stench can't pin him down. Turns out the gas goes everywhere. Yosuke claps a hand over his nose, and even Channa turns her face away from the green haze. It's only a level 2, so Maru figures he's got this. Wrong. Claws rip through the air an inch from his head, and the bloated thing is suddenly very fast. Maru's crying and sweating at the same time, teeth clenched. At this rate, the whole team gets wiped, and he knows it. If he can't put down a level 2, what happens when a real monster shows up? So he screams not to look down on him, that he's faster, and pushes his body past its limit. Now he blurs. One step, and the creature is flying backward before it can track him. Its jaws swing open right in front of his face, so he gathers every last scrap of strength and throws it into one final strike. Rain falls as he forces his way up through the tall grass, arm reaching. Then silence. The demon lies collapsed in the dirt, that tooth-packed mouth wide open and empty of fight. Just like that, it's over. Well, winning looks less glamorous up close. Maru stands there panting, and behind him, Channa and Yosuke are on their knees, catching their breath too. The 3 of them end up crouched at a stream, splashing water on their faces like office workers on the worst field trip ever. Channa flexes her hand, blade tips sparking at her fingertips, calm as ever. Maru explains it straight. The last Rakshasa he ate had Mira abilities, so he can copy powers, including the armpit demon stink attack. Yosuke jabs a thumb at his own chest and grins. That would be me. Honestly, the team's review is brutal. Yosuke cackles that it's such a weird-ass ability, and Maru stumbles over the rocks, red in the face. He mutters that it's not really that weird. Nobody backs him up. Then Channa leans in, and suddenly her face is inches from his. Red eyes wide, hand resting on his shoulder. She looks him over slowly, blank as ever. Her verdict comes out flat. Eating Rakshasas is a bit gross though. Behind them, Yosuke shadowboxes at nothing, completely unbothered. Of course, the moment everyone scatters, Maru collapses into the grass and sighs his soul out. Then it hits him. He grips his face with both hands, ears burning. She was that close, she called his power gross. So why is his heart sprinting? A voice calls out behind him. Maru turns, rubbing his neck, still crouched in the grass and not ready for company. A tall figure in a black suit bends down sharply, folding almost in half to stare at him. It's Kangcha. He says it slowly. With just a level 1 ability, all Maru gets out is a nervous stammer. The lie just creaked. Now, the commander's mouth curls into a slow smile that gives nothing away. A little later, he smirks at Yosuke and asks about the Seoul headquarters team, and Yosuke flinches so hard his hands fly up. Why is the commander suddenly this interested in their little island squad? Kangcha's answer to the Seoul headquarters question is simple. He grins and says he can spot potential a mile off. Cut to a fog-thick forest, and someone echoes that word back, uneasy. Potential. Meanwhile, a woman in red corners a coworker for skipping a meeting. He just straightens his tie, says someone in there hates him. She grabs his sleeve anyway, sharper than she means to. The scene folds into something hazier. Gold light, drifting dust, a hallway that doesn't feel real. Then a tight, unsettling shot of a face. Eyes shut, like someone surfacing from a dream. Now, back on Ganghwa Island. The dust countermeasures building sits under its usual sleepy banner. Inside, a coworker spots something on his screen and lights up. Seoul headquarters? This is awesome. Someone needles him, asks if Seoul soul only handles the dangerous ones. He freezes, wide-eyed, like he hadn't thought that far. The needler just smirks, taps his own temple, pleased with himself. Of course, someone across the room clocks that smugness, quietly murderous. He just blinks, confused. Finally, the glaring one snaps, demands to know why he's been smirking all day. In his head, it's already a duel. A hooded rival sneers he choked his shot at Soul. "Who are you calling incompetent?" he yells back. Then blood sprays from an ability he never saw coming. And just like that, he's losing. Turns out, back in reality, Yosuk's just spinning his chair around. No idea any of that happened. The guy actually recoils. No way, he thinks. He's losing a fight that was never even real. Across the office, Yoonji-won's had enough of someone getting teased. She snaps at the room to quiet down and leave Hanmaru alone. Maru looks up startled, then slumps back, chin on hand, done for the day. Well, nearby, someone's just getting coffee at the copier, printer humming along. Later, alone at his desk, Maru just sits with his phone dark in his hand. What is he even waiting for? Across the room, someone else is deep in a quiet conversation. Expression unreadable. Honestly, one coworker's had it. "I'm so bored I can't stand it," he complains. Then he turns to Maru. "Come along, let's get along as newbies." Cut to a green mountain range under open sky. Their hiking trip starts. So Maru and his coworker trudge uphill, already wrecked, breathing hard. Then Maru freezes mid-step, face going white. What is that? He drops low and bolts forward before anyone can stop him. Behind him, someone starts to say something and just stops, stunned. Boots pound the dirt path fast. Whatever's up ahead, he's not slowing down to find out what. So a hand jabs toward the house, glowing orange under a darkening sky. Someone snaps that his eyes must be blocked like a Rakshasa's. They follow one grumbling step behind, through a gate crusted in rust. Dust pours from behind the closed doors, thicker than outside. Level 4. Maybe worse, one of them guesses. The hallway ahead goes black, and both men freeze, alert. The taller one grabs his partner's collar and shoves him aside. "Get out of the way," he barks. Then he pulls on a glove, knuckles crackling, ready for whatever's inside. Naturally, one of them stumbles, and for a second it looks bad. "He's still alive," he insists, laughing it off. So much for the confidence a minute ago. One presses his eye to the keyhole, breath held. Inside, something sits motionless in a haze of smoke. Man or monster? There's no telling yet. While both push forward, straining past each other to see. Level 7 or higher, the other warns. A genuinely dangerous Rakshasa this time. Dust swallows their legs, the shape ahead still hidden. One grins wide, sweat dripping, hungry for it. Finally, he says, "A fight worth having." Then the shadow moves, it all flips. Now he's the one running, screaming that headquarters needs to know. A blade slices past his head. He crashes through a door, praying the front one isn't blocked too. Meanwhile, Jiwon's face goes rigid. Whatever that sound was, she feels it too. Dust rolls through the corridor. Something thin and fast streaks past him, gone before he can name it. He pounds the door with both fists, yelling for it to open. Then he calls whoever's inside a coward hiding alone, daring it to fight. Something behind the door screams, or maybe laughs, mouth stretched too wide. He staggers back, fist still clenched. Honestly, not 1 second with an obsessed psycho sounds worth it. Someone finally names it. A level 7 Hikikomori Rakshasa, a recluse that never leaves this house. Its face comes into view, wrapped in rotted, stitched-shut eyes, jagged teeth and a mouth too wide. "Loner," it moans. "Loner." By the time Namyosik checks his hand, all 10 fingers are broken. The door hasn't got a scratch on it. What is this door even made of? Down the hall, another one swings a chair at the wall, hard. It doesn't break, not even a crack. He mutters, "So sturdy it won't break," and real panic finally shows on his face. Trapped inside, an officer stares down at the walls. Is this the loner Rakshasa's power, sealing them in on purpose? He slumps against the wall, blood soaking through his sleeve. An hour trapped now, and his chest is heaving hard. He wonders if anyone outside even knows they're missing. "Nobody's coming," he grits out. Forgotten, just like that. Meanwhile, across the island, the office is its own kind of chaos. One coworker yells straight into the yellow dust. Yoonji-won tears into someone for missing the Busan training date. The rest just chase the deadline, calling status as the files finally go out. Honestly, someone stabs the enter key. "Send it," he barks, and it's out the door. He slumps back, hair a wreck, wrung out. The door swings open and a hand waves them all through. Jiwon drops onto the couch with a sigh of relief. For a minute, the whole team just breathes, calling it peace at last. Now 3 of them freeze mid-sip. Something's wrong. Jiwon's already up, code in hand. She tells Yosuk to move and tells Kim and Chana to stay. Of course, Chana isn't having it. Something feels off, she says, grabbing her coat anyway. The 3 of them head out together. They reach the house at dusk, dust blowing across it. Yosuk looks around, counting heads. Where did the other 2 go, he wonders. Chaos everywhere. Smoke pours from somewhere ahead, and someone screaming not to shut the door. 2 officers sprint through it, trying to reach whoever's trapped. One man claws at his own face, a masked figure silent behind him. Nearby, another officer goes down, and the rest crowd in, asking what happened. 5 of them reach the closed door at the end of the hall. Is this the room? One of them asks. Yeah, Jiwon confirms. Something hisses behind it, and a hand shoots up. Stop. Chana's blade glows red hot, and she swings twice in one breath. It should be enough to end this. Instead, the masked figure spins first, a fiery arc ripping back at her. Well, the door stays shut. Something's still moving on the other side. Let me try, Jiwon says, rolling up her sleeve. A black spider sinks its fangs into her arm, and she doesn't even flinch. Calm as ever, she holds it up in her palm. Then she coaxes her spider toward the gap in the door, guiding it in. Minnie squeezes further through the gap, and Jiwon cheers her on. Then the little body jams tight in the frame. The hole's just too small for her to clear. Of course, she coos over the stuck little thing like a lost pet. Come to mommy, she murmurs. It's okay now. Yosuk just stares, mouth open, like he's watching a stranger. Meanwhile, someone's already needling Yosuk to prove himself. Don't just stand there, they tell him. Show us what you can do. Turns out he's not the only one on the spot. One teammate's got no attack ability at all. Useless on the field, somebody sneers. Another's power only fires under conditions so specific it's basically dead weight. The room laughs. He just sweats and waves his hands. Then the joke turns real. Flames close in around the whole group. Who's coming to save us now? Somebody begs. Voice cracking over the fire. Just like that, something yanks every one of them sideways, ripped clean out of the blaze. Well, it's Officer Kim. No one else was coming back, so he came in alone. The 5 of them just stare, stunned, silent. They hadn't even noticed him walk in. How did nobody notice him? Zero presence, and it just saved their lives. Now, back at the shrinking house, Kim presses a hand flat to the wall, listening hard for whatever's on the other side. Jiwon asks straight out, Officer Kim, can you handle it? He doesn't answer with words, he just drags a collapsed man clear of the doorway. The man slumps face down against the wall by the green door, spent. Yosuk lets out a long, tired breath. Jiwon holds Minnie close, watching him. Believe this? Yosuk mutters, something dark creeping into his voice. Behind him, a battered officer claws the green door open with what's left of his hands. He drags another man through as a blade flashes overhead. Jiwon's hand snaps up, sharp. Her eyes go wide at what just broke loose. Honestly, the corridor's thick with smoke and nobody's breathing easy. Then one teammate grips her own skull like it's splitting open. What is she hearing that they can't? The group closes in around her, worried. She goes still, listening, finger pressed near her ear. The sound's coming from the master bedroom, she shouts, pointing hard down the hall. Jiwon's already sprinting, coat and hair flying, the rest scrambling to keep up. Shauna's already swinging, blade cutting the air mid-stride, ready for whatever's waiting. Nothing's there. The empty room itself lurches, walls buckling inward, debris flung in every direction. What the hell, somebody yells. The house is shrinking around them. So one of them finally puts it together, eyes blown wide. Now he gets it, the loner Rakshasa's whole purpose here. Naturally, that's the moment the thing shows its face. Skin cracked, eye a jagged slit, ears pointed and wrong. A clawed hand twitches out, rotted fingertips trembling. 2 faces share one snarling mouth and it wants blood. Pray, it hisses. The wall shatters under the impact, glass and debris flying everywhere. The monster screams, muscles bulging, steam rolling off its skin. It doesn't want to share this house with anyone. It wants everyone else crushed and itself the only thing left standing. Somero grits his teeth as the shadow swells over them. Kill the Rakshasa or the walls crush everyone in this house. So what happens if nobody here can land that hit? The team squares up anyway. Backs to the door, sweat drips down Mero's face, his grin gone fanged and unsteady. Now the picture cuts somewhere gentler. A garden outside a farmhouse. Small feet cross a dirt path toward the door. Someone calls her inside and a child follows. That night, 3 of them pile under mismatched blankets, grandma, brother, and a little girl. She wishes out loud they could stay together like this always. Her brother laughs, ruffling her hair, and makes her promise to visit every university break. Okay, she answers, blushing at the touch. Lying there, something about that promise won't sit right in her. Years earlier in this same house, Grandma had caught her scribbling on a wall. Her mom and dad ask about it instead, warning that Grandma will scold her. The little girl just grins, calling it a picture of their happy family. The memory turns colder, a gloved hand holding that same drawing now. Its bright crayon lines have gone pale, fading like the family in them. She's older here. All she can choke out is, no. No. Then a rotted claw punches up through the floor and rips into her throat. Blood sprays as something ancient and claw drags itself out of the dark. She rams a glowing red blade straight through the wood, pinning it down. For 1 second, it looks like she's got it beaten. Then the blade itself screams for more, hungry and sentient, feeding on the fight. A blackened hand closes on her face instead and carves into her cheek. A red tendril catches the girl mid-swing while her brother lies collapsed and bleeding beside her. She grabs him with one hand and swings her blade with the other. Her strike tears clean through the red-veined mass. The shockwave throws her back. What did she just become to save him? Her eyes reflect the whole scene back at her, red-rimmed and streaming. The drawing dissolves. Just an empty, sunlit room now, and the memory lets go. Back in the present, Officer Kang goes flying, thrown upside down through the air. Jiwon and Yosuk freeze, watching whatever just stopped mid-fall. A teammate catches her, unconscious and limp in his arms. Jiwon drops beside her, hands on her face. Officer Kang, are you okay? Yosuk touches his own head, wincing, blood already on his fingers. Jiwon looks around at the wrecked room, quiet for a second. Well, she finally says it. This house is where it all happened. Yosuk's face drains white before she's even finished explaining. This is where Kang survived alone and gained every power she has now. Somewhere in that dark once, a Rakshasa loomed over one small girl left standing. Only one of them walked out alive. Quiet settles over the wrecked room for a moment. Then Yosuk pushes off the wall, wincing, and starts looking around for Maru. Nearby, Channa cradles Maru against her arm, smoothing his hair back. He's bloodied at the lip, barely holding on to consciousness. Now Yosuk braces a palm against the stone, feeling for the next shift. Nothing yet. Let's leave before it closes in again, he tells Maru, pulling him up. Jiwon has her own plan. She taps 2 fingers against a blackened wall, and a crack spreads under the touch. Dripping water hollows out stone, she says, sounding pleased with herself. Her smile afterward isn't comforting. Meanwhile, dust rolls through another corridor after a fresh impact. Honestly, one guy just keeps at it, knuckles raw, refusing to admit the wall's winning. By the time his strength runs out, he and 2 others sit slumped together, gasping. Another one nurses a fresh cut across his collar, blood already drying. Somebody grips a knife hard, and another hand reaches straight for the blade. Now Maru catches up with Channa, alone with her in the wreckage. She drags her fingers down a dark doorway, scratching at something only she recognizes. Turns out this is her grandmother's house, and hearing that makes him go quiet. She says she's waiting for something. He asks for what? For the Rakshasa that killed my family, she says. It always comes back here, and this time she'll be ready. He doesn't follow. How does she know it's coming back at all? The memory answers instead. She wakes up screaming in the dark, drenched in sweat, shaking. Afterwards, she just sits there hugging her knees, unable to stop trembling. In the dream, a horned thing rises from the dark. Red veins glow under its skin, and it carries a blade the size of a door. It wasn't like the others, and she knew it the second she saw it. It closes in behind her before she can move, a shadow built out of smoke and claws. She screams. Afterward, all she can do is stare, one tear finally breaking loose. But then the memory lets her go, black hair spilling forward as she comes back to herself. Well, back in the room, Maru puts it to her straight blade close to her throat. He wants to know why a level 7 is hiding on the weakest team on the island. She turns the question back on him instead. She asks if it disappoints him that all she cares about is the thing that killed her family. Then she drives the blade into the door again and again. How did you know? The answer comes as memory too. She saw him once, coming back to a spot in the woods where somebody lay fallen, sunlight through the leaves, and nothing else needs saying. So his grip tightens on her arm as something nearby jerks to life. What is that? Is it actually moving? Somewhere above, people scatter across a rooftop, someone screaming for everyone to get to the hallway. It's starting again. Channa grabs his sleeve before he can move, whatever she's about to say catching in her throat. Because you're, she starts. Maru's stuck on the sentence she never finished. Because you're what? Morning comes anyway, dust still hanging heavy over the quiet house. Now the group huddles together, coughing through settling dust, hoping the grinding walls finally stop. Down the corridor, a shape in yellow lies face down by a door. That's Kang's coat, and nobody moves toward it yet. Yosuk and a teammate slump against the wall, gasping. Kang's coat crumpled just feet away. Then the shaking outside just stops. Whoa, already. Jiwon goes quiet, half her face swallowed by shadow. Something dark flickers at the edge of the frame, wing-shaped. Nobody else seems to notice yet. Someone screams, fangs bared, hand snapping out. The chained prisoner lurches forward, demanding to know what just happened to it. The rest crowd around the fanged one, all demanding to know what ability he used. Turns out it's just Yosuk, hands up, a weird blue-green fungus creeping over half his head. Not exactly monster claws. The team cracks up, patting their fuzzy-headed hero on the back. Honestly, the laughing stops fast. Someone's pointing past the group. Save the chat, he says. Look over there. Of course, it's not that simple. A pale, wounded thing shrieks out of the dust, clawed shadows creeping along the wall behind it. This isn't the lone hermit they were warned about. It's a whole pack. Meanwhile, one of them is already swinging, fist cutting hard through the dust. Elsewhere, 3 shapes stand facing a wall glowing gold, ghostly screaming figures rippling inside it. The shapes are pressing closer. Well, the shapes don't stay ghosts for long. A pale creature lunges straight out of the wall, claw reaching for the nearest throat. The fight is on. Its limbs bend wrong, a raw red wound running the length of its spine. One of the officers screams and thrusts her glowing hand forward, orange light streaking off her fingers. Someone's already moving, shouting, already doing it. Rakshasa restrictions, 0 presence. Golden light wraps the group up whole, sealing them inside a warped glassy barrier. Yosuk, Jiwon, Changsik, and Maru, all 4 packed in together now. Kang's already moving, blade out, sliding low with a sharp cry. Maru braces, expecting a clean opening. Instead, a monstrous face bursts up from the floor right under him. Naturally, he's thrown backward, twisted upside down beside its scarred gray hand. It screams and swings a claw down at him. They grapple close, his head pressed hard against its bloodied shoulder. shoulder. Its claw rises again, dripping, ready for a second swing. But Maru gets there first, fist glowing, driving straight into its ribs. Yosuk's already shouting past them, warning the Rakshasa is bringing the ceiling down. Blood's on his mouth now, fangs showing, one eye glowing faint gold. What is that? Flickering right beside him. No way, he breathes. So, his shock breaks into a raw, fanged scream. Whatever just took the wheel, it isn't scared anymore. He ends the fight half hoisted upside down, more tangled than triumphant. Yosuk just laughs through the dust. Not a great sight, but well done. Pinned and bleeding, Maru mocks the thing coming at him. Nice look, he says. Shame he can't move. Is this the hit that finally lands? Instead, the monster's head is already gone, spinning off in a burst of light before its claw gets close. Now a teammate barks at him to get behind the barrier already. Calls him level 1, calls him in the way. Same old label, not even close to true. Yosuk isn't so lucky. Teeth close on his shoulder and he screams before he can even brace. Damn it, he spits and swings back anyway. Meanwhile, something bigger steps out of the dust, a spider-shaped Rakshasa with mandibles and glass yellow eyes. Somewhere close, Maru catches another claw across the scalp, blood already dripping. Behind her glasses, Jiwon's eyes flare gold for half a second, an ability she never talks about back at the office. Kang answers with her blade, dropping 2 of them in one pass before anyone even reacts. Honestly, this is why they call her level 7. She's already turning on the next one, cutting through dust and light before it can land a hit. Somewhere else, Yosuk throws his hands up on reflex, mirroring a stranger who's already surrendering to something worse. Overkill, probably. Turns out the pack's got backup. Above the wreck, a goggle-eyed figure watches almost calm, arms folded, while more shadow shapes crawl up out of the dust below it. Another hit lands, and a bloodied hand goes up before the pain even registers. Someone screams for him from just behind. For one frozen beat, 2 stares lock across the chaos, neither one blinking first. Well, the team scatters for real now, Kang and Yosuk scrambling low while something with claws stalks just behind them in the dark. Then Maru goes down hard, thrown by something nobody even saw coming. Blood's already back on his mouth. What is this? He barely gets out, as a streak of falling light swallows the ground under him. Now he's facing a crowd of featureless shadows, and past them, something worse. A gaunt statue-still figure wrapped in red threads of light. Its cracked hollow face rips open in a scream that isn't really sound. In that case, Maru says, both arms rise. His face goes dark under a flicker of black flame. A memory cracks open. Young Maru, bloodied and screaming, telling someone to just stay in the room. Now a hand reaches for him out of the dark, and then he's airborne, shirt torn, thrown like nothing. He hits the ground spitting blood, groaning through the pain. Why does none of this feel new? Hanmaru, run! Someone else screams at him, a boy's voice raw with fear. Present day snaps back into place. Maru throws his fist overhead with a scream that has nothing to do with the memory anymore, then lunges forward, reaching for the kill. So they just stand there afterward, panting, bloodied, saying nothing at all. Down the hall, the rest of the team loses it completely. Hooray, someone shouts, and it turns into a real celebration fast. Word of this will be all over HQ by morning. Blood still stains the floor under their feet, but nobody's looking down. Off to the side, Lee just watches with a flat, pink-eyed stare, arms crossed, clearly not celebrating anything. Meanwhile, down an empty hallway nearby, 2 glass doors and an old framed photo sit in dust and silence, like nobody's walked through in years. So, the team crowds a low table, plates everywhere, someone's arm shooting up mid-story. It won't last. Then Maru's just standing there, blood specks on his shirt, staring at nothing. What did he just do? He looks down at a shape on the floor, raises a hand. In that case, is all he says. Yosuk's got blood running from his own nose, one hand clamped over it. He's screaming down at someone on the floor. What are you doing right now? Turns out that's not rhetorical. Claws punch out from his fingertips right at his own throat. His eyes go full yellow, a crack running under the sound. Seconds later, he's up, hands raised, claws bared, shirt soaked in blood that isn't all his. The wall behind him tells the story. Gouges torn deep, scorch marks bleeding into the plaster. Yosuk and Jiwon both flinch back, shouting hands up like they can stop what's already happened. No warning after that, no word. He just drags his claws down the hallway wall on his way out. Fresh gouges trail behind him like a signature. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the building, a coworker pulls off his sunglasses and blinks at an empty room. He went to all that trouble and nobody showed. Now across the building, someone's on the phone fishing for gossip. They're wondering out loud why Hanmaru turned down headquarters. Down another hall, the building's full of its own smaller dramas. A quiet couple lies wrapped up together, unbothered by any of it. Elsewhere it's messier, bodies tangled, someone biting down hard on an arm. Well, sometime later, a scarred man stands in the wreckage. Clothes torn, he glances back sharp over his shoulder. Honestly, 4 years of failed job hunting, and this is the dream. He's dragging himself to work half dead before 9. He's behind the wheel, seatbelt on, and his whole body goes tense for no reason he can name. Why does that old scream still find him here? Run, Hanmaru, run, someone shouts. shouts, and a clawed hand reaches down out of nowhere. He's just checking his collar in the window's reflection. Morning light, flat across his face, like none of that happened. He walks the bridge path fast, fist clenched, clearly annoyed at something the morning hasn't explained yet. Honestly, this joke never gets old. Yosuk spots the car and can't let it go, teasing their rookie for driving something foreign. Come on, both of them end up laughing the whole walk-in. Maru tries to explain himself and just gets drowned out. Then it goes quiet. Two of them just stand there, eyes shut, neither saying a word. Of course, the floral shirt guy can't resist either. He's laughing loud, eyes shut, then grabs Maru's face and squishes it, still laughing. Now Jiwon's the one running the room, papers in hand, laying out whatever's next while everyone half listens. Someone in glasses watches it all with a sly little smile, like he already knows how this goes. Turns out Yosa gets his own surprise. Someone tells him flat out, "You're the only one whose power keeps improving." Someone barks at the room to cut the chatter. Work already started and the mood drops instantly. Bad timing. One of them mutters under his breath that he didn't even say anything. So he's back at his desk, typing hard, eyes narrowed at the screen. Then someone leans in from behind. Easy about it. How about we talk for a bit? So Chana buys him a drink from the rooftop vending machine. Maru just stares at it, confused. She fidgets with her own can, working up to something. He waves off her thanks for Grandma's house. Just a team thing, he says, nothing special. Then she leans in close. About how I feel about you. Of course, our boy's brain jumps straight to romance. Is she into him? Turns out that's not it at all. She flat out doesn't buy his level 1 story. Not that kind of feeling. They go back and forth, face to face, neither one backing down. Her question drags up something he's buried. A monster from his memory looms right behind him. Ghost pale, jaw wired shut. Think about it, she presses. Any Rakshasa run-in before this job? Naturally, his mind picks that spot to spiral. A shape in the dark bites its nails and sweats. It glances around like it's being hunted. Then the smile comes, mouth full of blood. A clawed foot the size of a door slams down. It crouches low, all fangs and glowing eyes, wounds crawling over raw skin. Then, without warning, a Ken crushes flat on the ground. Back in the real world, Maru doubles over for real. Chana blurts out, alarmed, asking what's wrong. He admits his mind just cooks up scary stuff sometimes, still shaking. She just stares back, hands at her chin, unreadable. Honestly, that quiet is worse than anything she could say. He glances away, sweat sliding down his neck. Then his head runs the reel again, worse this time. She leans in close, almost gentle, reaching for his tie. Footsteps stop behind them, and her eyes go wrong, wide and glowing red. In the fantasy, their floral-shirted friend waves off the whole Rakshasa talk as nonsense. A clawed hand rips through his chest, just like that. No thanks, not interested at all, the friend says, and just walks off. Bleeding, he grabs at the guy's shoe, insisting that's not what it looked like. Meanwhile, back in reality, she's just standing there, hair loose in the wind, nothing wrong at all. Now the scene cuts. A wall clock ticking past 5. Sunlight through office blinds. Yoonji-won shrugs into her jacket, already asking about the yellow dust warnings. Well, the job doesn't wait. A misty mountain ridge stretches out, remote and quiet. Maru trudges the trail with a tablet in hand, dragging, worn thin. They both stop, hands on knees, gasping for air. Then he crouches, touches the dirt, and goes still. What's out here? Now, on the trail, Maru's turning it over in his head. There's not enough intel on these things to know how to survive them yet. His partner just watches the tree line, quiet. Meanwhile, miles off, someone slams a phone receiver up in a panic. A bloody handprint smears the call box below it. Team leader goes blood. The next voice on the line is bleeding from the chest. He screams the warning through. It's heading their way. Chana grabs the receiver and shouts back, her partner blinking in confusion. Then it clicks. Both turn hard toward whatever's coming. So Chana's already reaching for her knife, ready to charge in. Maru grabs her wrist and holds her back. This thing beat a level 10 user solo. He warns her flat. Both go still, watching the dust for the first sign of movement. Then it steps out of the dust itself, hairless, ribs showing through a torn robe. One hollow red socket sits where an eye should be, and it's grinning. Both of them freeze when it actually speaks. Nice to meet you humans, it says. Can we chat? Of course it wants to know who's in charge here. Same wrong smile stretched wide. Yosa can't get past the basic horror of it. A monster that talks like a person. The creature waves off the tension, all fake calm, says it only wants to talk. Yosuk and the others set their backs together anyway, braced. Well, from a distance, it just waits in the dust, patient. Two shapes walk toward it anyway, small against the empty road. Someone yells through a chain link fence not to talk to that thing. It's too late, they're already close. Maru shouts back. They know next to nothing about this enemy, and this might be their only shot to learn. So he just asks it straight, Chana close at his shoulder. Where's it from? They come from Narika. It grins. Maru's never heard the name. Turns out it's the very bottom of hell, the creature says, grinning wider. That screaming red mass down there, those are previous lives. Maru's gut drops before the question even finishes. Are the Rakshasas walking around wearing someone's old life? Honestly, no one saw that answer coming. Rakshasas were once humans. The monster looms over him, hollow-eyed, still grinning. Maru's sweating, and somewhere behind the dark hair, one red eye watches him back. No way, he thinks. That thing used to be a person? Its body backs the claim up, a ruined mess of muscle. A second deformed face is grown right into the shoulder. The idea alone turns his stomach, and Maru doubles over, gagging. Then he's throwing up right there on the path. Behind him, the creature just watches, patient, pointing one clawed finger forward. Now it says, "Can I ask a question this time?" A question, what could a thing like this possibly want from him? Not the one he expected. Meanwhile, back on the radio, someone's already screaming a warning his way. He and Shayna keep walking anyway. She doesn't wait for permission. "This is the thing that cut down team leader Go and put Yosuke in the dirt," she says. Our boy just watches, unarmed, as her blade comes down bloody. Of course, it throws its hands up now, swearing it hates violence. You'd almost buy the Mercy Act if you didn't already know better. Bad move. She swings straight through the sob story anyway. Her eyes go bloodshot with the strain of it, and she doesn't blink. It ducks the hit and comes up grinning, teeth bared, because it says, drawing the word out. "It's your fault your brother died," it says, meaning every word. Turns out it drags her straight into memory. A boy, tied down, blood already on his mouth. "Sis, run away," he screams. She lunges for him, but there's no reaching him fast enough. She catches him only to watch the blade already through his chest. His hand goes slack in the dust. She screams like she is still 7 years old. The memory breaks, and blood is already running from her mouth for real. Someone masked steps up behind her while she's still lost in it. She never even sees the strike land. Now Yosuke's already yelling her name, moving before she even hits the ground. He catches her on the way down. The wound's dead center, over the heart, and it isn't slowing down. It flinches, confused. It swears it never even saw the hit land. Then it steps over her like she's furniture. It mocks a crying girl grieving her dead family, ready to just walk off. Yosuke drops down over her, telling it to shut its mouth. What does this thing even know about her pain? Maru is the one who answers, eyes flaring gold, fist already swinging. It connects clean, and the thing goes flying. Well, he's already airborne for the next hit when it laughs through a bloody mouth. It needles him about getting dumped by that same woman. He answers with his fist instead, and it lands hard. A claw catches his wrist open on the way down. He's bleeding for it now. "I was never dumped," he coughs, blood running down his chin. It's not the wound that's rattled him. Honestly, he never once thought of her that way. To him, she was just the strongest, coolest senior on the team, full stop. Chana's lips barely move. "I'm sorry" is all she gets out, blood tracking down her cheek. Yosuke stares at her, glassy and unblinking. Then his stomach turns on him, and he's on his knees, retching blood into the dirt. This isn't a wound you can bandage. Nearby, the mask thing wraps both hands around a stone and squeezes till it cracks. "Feelings make people weak," it says, like it's stating a fact. It looms over Yosuke now, eyes burning red-white in a face with no features left. It claims it felt the same way once, back when it was still human. Blood keeps sliding from the gash at his neck, one thin line after another. The thing's mouth stretches out beside his face, far too wide, all teeth and no reason left in it. It says it's done playing, no fun in a fight that can't even talk back. Somewhere close, the same monster screams over another officer, already down and bleeding from the head. His hand lies open on the ground, fingers slack, not moving at all. In his head, there's just one thought left. Unless some cold-blooded bastard immune to all this shows up, nobody's walking off this field. And something answers. A pair of hands closes around whatever's in reach and crushes it flat. Out of the dust, a masked shape rises, clawed hands wide, eyes burning through the haze. You'd swear a second monster just walked onto the field. Then a hand pushes up through the wreckage, scorched black, shaking. Turns out it isn't a monster. Eden Siono stands over the kneeling officer, pulling his gloves on nice and slow. "Why is he still lying down?" he asks. "Official rank and all. Level 1, sure. But that's no excuse." The bloodied man just grins wider, blood on his teeth. "So you've come, you sociopath." He grabs the bloodied man by the collar, hard enough to lift him clean off his feet. Looks like it's over. One clean win. Then someone else drops near their feet, and it isn't Eden Siono. The skull face thing grips its own head and laughs, ragged and pleased with itself. "Its throat's too tough to tear," it says. Still talking. Eden Seinu goes down on one knee, coughing blood onto the dirt, hand trembling against the ground. Yosuke watches from behind him, jaw tight, eyes hot with something close to rage. That loudmouth, he mutters, won't shut up. Now the whole team's lined up against it. 2 agents in yellow jackets facing the thing across the dust. Yosuke stumbles forward first, blood soaking his shirt, warning that this one reads minds before it strikes. Eden Sionu lifts a hand for quiet. "Shut up and watch," he snaps. Something about its voice needles at Yosuke. It sounds like a Rakshasa he's met before, one that nearly killed him. He snaps his gloved hand up sharp, dust kicking off the motion. A flick, that's it. Something unseen cuts through the air and lands hard, feathers scattering on impact. "Is that all you've got?" The thing taunts. "Still won't earn your father's approval at this rate. What's it even trying to prove? Going straight for something that old." Of course he doesn't flinch. He just adjusts his jacket, calm as if the thing hadn't said a word. It throws its head back and screams instead, ragged and raw, the cord standing out on its neck. Does it really think a jab about his father is going to slow him down? He waits instead, head down. Focused. Meanwhile, the scene cuts without warning. A young officer looks straight up in shock at a pair of bare feet dangling from the dark above her. Something else stands there too, just legs. Feet glowing faint against the black floor, waiting. Eden grips his torn, bloodied collar and drags in a ragged breath. The old insult still stings. Just some pampered rich kid, nothing more. Head down, eyes hidden, he grins and asks what it plans to do about that. He's got zero patience for self-pity, grabbing a fallen teammate by the collar for blaming it all on his weak mother. Then he's moving, low and fast, charging in, snarling that only the strong survive. Now the masked thing grins back. In this body it says, "You won't survive to the end." Weaker than Hanmaru, Eden's face locks with shock, and something in him detonates, light ripping his coat open in the blast. While everyone watches Eden light up, the creature's tongue blade shoots out and buries itself in a teammate's chest. Found it. His partner catches him as he drops and realizes too late. Rattle you first, then spear the heart while you're looking away. Channa closes the distance low and fast, sword flashing, hair whipping behind her. She rips the tongue blade out at the root and the creature screams, blood spraying from the stump. She turns back through the dust to check that they're both okay. "She's incredible," someone breathes. It's already sounding like camp legend in the making. Eden isn't celebrating. He's blushing, fangs bared, fighting off a thought he won't name. A teammate shakes him back to his senses and he surfaces mid-thought. Wait, is being called weaker than Hanmaru really supposed to wound Maru? Honestly, he decides this guy must just be jealous of him. Of course, he's back on his feet fast, stomping over to shake that same teammate awake, telling him to ignore what that guy said. "You're even better than me," he shouts, blood soaking his tie, wide-eyed and fierce. The teammate trembles for a second, hair hiding his face. Naturally, he's smug again a moment later, hair fixed, sparkles practically visible, mocking level 1 as a total simpleton. Meanwhile, the whole team squares up against something bigger, a shadow looming over the dust, easily twice their height. Shayna's hand tightens on her weapon, grit and dust caking her sleeve. Shayna walks out of the dust, blade red, face blank. It hasn't registered yet. The blood isn't all someone else's. It's soaking her collar too, while a teammate grabs her arm to steady her and another just stares, confused. Turns out her wounds aren't closing. What happened? She gasps. Why won't they heal? A teammate catches her as she stumbles and realizes the psychological attack is blocking their recovery. Eden runs anyway, hurt and hunched, determined to get past that tongue blade and take it down. "You idiot," the creature snarls, and he's sent flying as its blade lashes out. "Their chance," someone shouts, and the whole team surges toward the opening. "Only works in a confined space," he warns. Blade still dripping in his fist, Channa leans into him, tongue split and bleeding, breath coming in short white clouds. Meanwhile, Hanmaru is running alone, something whip-thin lashing the air behind him. No buildings, no town, nowhere to hide, and he can't risk leading it toward people. Then a shout rips through the trees, someone screaming his name from a car parked at the roadside. For 1 second, it looks like rescue. He clears the barbed fence in one jump, wire biting his wrist. Of course, someone in the car is still yelling about the paint job, not about him. The wire snaps tight, tears him open, and he's screaming before he even lands. He drops out of the sky, boots swinging over someone's head below. A stray impact cracks into a car door, hard enough to dent the metal. Turns out the thing chasing him has no face at all. What even is this? Just sunken red sockets, and a tongue built like a blade, roaring out of the dust behind him. So the car goes off the road and cracks open, door torn from its hinge. He's flung against the frame, chest already soaked red, eyes wide with panic. Something huge and dark looms beside the wreck, bigger than the car itself. A clawed limb locks around his ankle and hauls him out by the leg, seatbelt whipping loose. It throws him clear across the road like he weighs nothing. He scrambles up, coat in shreds, and throws a look over his shoulder. Bad move. He swings, and for a second it actually connects, the masked thing flinching back stunned. Then the ground flips. Blood runs down his shoulder, and he can't tell up from down anymore. Then just light and nothing. He comes to hunched in the dark, blood soaking his collar. Is this it? His head stays down, face swallowed by shadow, and nothing moves. Pale hands claw up out of the dark, more than he can count. Above him, something screams with a face stretched too wide, and it isn't done. A crowd of identical shapes closes in on someone already bleeding, brutal and fast and final. Close by, a clawed hand reaches for him next. Gray talons hover an inch from his fingers in the drifting dust. Now the team catches up, and Jiwon sees the claw first, screaming through her glasses. Hanmaru's jacket is already torn open at the shoulder, dust and blood soaked into the yellow. One of them stares at the wreck, jaw tight, a tear cutting through the grime. That bastard, he thinks. Why isn't he getting out? Well, Channa staggers in next, one hand clamped over her bleeding chest. She's already demanding to know where Hanmaru is. Something laughs low, almost gentle, offering to settle this by just talking. Then 4 words land like a fist, just like your father. Something tears loose behind his eyes. A bloodied throat, a boy crying. He can't tell anymore if it's memory or right now. A shadow grips Maru by the collar, and something small drops from his hand. Its mouth barely moves. Stop, it says, calm as ice. Then it leans in, asking how he felt when his father vanished. Blood floods from his ears and eyes before he can answer. Stop playing around with people's emotions, he screams back. His collar is soaked dark under a tie gone red. Above it, that mouth just keeps grinning, blood pooling behind broken teeth. Whatever's talking to him, it isn't human. Now he clamps a hand over his own ear and shouts it down. Ear attack means nothing if I can't hear you, so shut up. Dozens of hands reach for him out of the dark, grasping toward the same black point. He answers with a fist. It drops like a hammer, and the ground blows open beneath it. A teammate screams for it to stop, blood running from her own mouth now. A man hauls her back and yells at whatever's out there to back off. Whatever hit Maru is spreading to everyone near him. Meanwhile, their car slams and the windshield blows apart in blood and glass. Someone chokes out that the yellow dust is finally starting to disappear. Whatever fueled this nightmare is finally running dry. Two teammates stand over the wreck, one of them bleeding straight through her jacket. She starts walking, boots crunching over the dirt. Behind them, the car lies flipped and smoking, proof of how close that just came. So she jams her arm into a dark crack in the rock, digging with her bare hands. We need to pull Hanmaru out, now, she says. The man beside her isn't so sure. Too much time's passed, he mutters. He's probably already dead. She wrenches him free, and what she pulls out barely looks human anymore. How do you crumple your entire body, you idiot? She snaps, hauling him into the open. The man beside her says nothing. His silence says enough. Blood is smeared across every inch of stone. Beside them, another figure lies broken in the wreckage, a blade glinting near a hand nobody claims. Maru doesn't answer any of it. He's curled on the ground now, silent, unmoving, under a sky full of stars. Honestly, part of him is still standing somewhere past the pain. Arms crossed, head down, lit by a glow that isn't real. He grips his own shoulder and finds nothing there. Why can't he feel his own body? Turns out something else is waiting in that same dark. A shape with no real face, glowing red where its eyes should be. It never finished what it was trying to say before. Now a giant mouth opens right in front of him. It starts. Then it just hangs there, wide and silent. It's holding him against its chest like he weighs nothing. A massive robed thing in a hollow-eyed mask. Something about a calling, it tells him. Calling? He can't make sense of the word. Somewhere, someone is screaming for him to wake up. His eyes snap open with a groan, sweat pouring down his face. He's flat on his back, coat open, blood soaking through his shirt, breath ragged, and rising out of the dark behind him, something with claws and horns is already closing in. The monsters found him first. Claws hover right over his chest, and its jaw drops toward his throat. The creature's fangs hang a breath from his throat. Its teeth fill the dark, huge and glistening. His jaw locks and the panel goes white. What's happening to him? Somewhere else, years back, he's trembling in the open air. Now, a different monster crouches in the dust, eyes glowing white, claws bared. Its jaws hang open, dripping rows of teeth on display. A boy grabs his father's leg, begging him to run. Well, Dad has a different answer. Someone yanks him hard by the collar, and Dad says it straight, we fight it, starting now. The boy's hands shake, knuckles white. Why? For what reason? A shadowed voice finally answers, they need that bastard's Rakshasa gift for themselves. Turns out, it's his own father dragging him. He's yanked into the air by the leg, screaming to be let go. Thrown to the ground, a monster looms right over him. Another memory surfaces closer to now, rain, and clawed wings coming down on him again. He grips the last of his dust, ready to strike back. He should be the one left standing, but the blast throws him into the mud instead. So, back in the present, Chana's hand is shaking over empty ground. The dust that could heal Hanmaru is already gone. His head snaps up, sudden and blank, and it isn't him who moved. Chana grabs his bloodied hand and calls his name, but he rises anyway, swaying, eyes hollow. No way, how? Honestly, someone finally spits it out. This human's making yellow dust with his own body, just like a Rakshasa. A bloody symbol gets scrawled in the dirt right after, like the accusation needs proof. He's still standing somehow, eyes glowing yellow, blood dripping from his mouth. The dust curls off torn cloth. Then something crashes down hard, and dust and blood erupt where it lands. Naturally, he's down again, blood covering his face. Then, slow, he starts to rise out of the dust, chest heaving. Now the memory rewinds to the quiet after. Someone tells him he's almost fully healed. Chana stands close, watching him, her shirt still dark with old blood. A stranger's face jerks in close, blood still wet on both of them. Nearby in the grass, Chana lies crying, a fresh cut stinging under one eye. He and Chana stand over the man's body without a word. Then he rears back and slams a fist down, demanding to know who this bastard even is. The man convulses under the blow, blood spraying from a fresh gash, gasping out a broken Y. He grabs the man's jaw and forces it open, right in his face. Is this the gluttony Rakshasi's power too? He demands. Turns out the question cracks something loose in him instead. A memory he'd buried surfaces, a clawed shape looming, a small hand reaching for its jaw, his father pulling him closer. Dad forced me, he still doesn't know why. His teammate grabs him by the shoulders, shocked he's suddenly gone limp. "Hey, talk to me, what's wrong?" he keeps shouting. Chana grabs his arm before he can shake him again. "Let Maru rest," she says. His panic disorder flares up like this sometimes. Then, low and serious, she adds one more thing. "Keep this between the three of them." Naturally, he balks. They're really not reporting this to headquarters. She holds her ground, explaining herself while blood still darkens her collar. "What if he turns dangerous?" someone asks. "What if he ends up just like a Rakshasa?" His teammate glances back once at the blood-soaked jacket in the grass, then looks away. He wipes his face with a gloved hand and just sighs. Chana stands over his crumpled yellow-clad body while the other man watches in silence. Her eyes look glassy, almost calm. Nothing about her expression matching the blood around them. Then a train horn cuts through it all and he jerks awake with a gasp. Just a memory, just an old wound replaying itself. Something's off past the stranger's coat blocking his view, he realizes. Behind a woman on the train, a fanged, glowing-eyed thing looms and only he can see it. He loses it completely, screaming and thrashing in front of a packed subway car. A coworker recognizes him mid-meltdown. Officer Nam Yosuk, unimpressed, tells him he's being so embarrassing. Of course, he tries to talk his way out of it. There's a rule apparently against coworkers meeting outside of work. Yosuk isn't buying it, pinching the back of his neck with an earphone cord. Hurt, he yelps, and that settles the argument. So the group heads for an izakaya as the sky goes dark. Another decompression night nobody talks about after. Well, one coworker's already drunk, chin propped on his hand, griping about the Gayang Mountain team and begging to transfer out. But then he trails off mid-sentence like he's thought better of finishing it. Honestly, the guy across the table looks ready to sweat through his glasses. "Who's the one sitting next to you?" someone finally asks him outright. Maru just knocks back his drink and says nothing. Beside him, a coworker cracks up laughing. "Why'd you even follow me here?" Of course, Maru's 3 drinks in already, hiccuping mid-sentence. He leans in and needles Jiwon, asking why she's so eager to call it a night. Yosuk just scowls into his cup. Then someone drops an old bullying story, and Maru's jaw drops. He's never heard anything like it. Someone at the table asks it straight. Was he ever on the Gayang Mountain team? Yosuk just drinks instead of answering. Across from him, someone's chopsticks freeze mid-air. That silence lands harder than any answer would. Turns out those old teammates weren't just difficult. Yosuk calls them flat out. The trash personality ones, those devilish humans. His grip tightens on the glass. "They're as dangerous as a Rakshasa," he says, dead serious. He walks off into the dark after, quiet, wiping sweat he shouldn't have at this hour. Something's eating at him. Am I also as dangerous as a Rakshasa, he wonders. Meanwhile, our boy hauls a limp, glasses-fogged Jiwon down the street, sweating through his shirt. Officer Nam, he calls out, "Is it still far?" Yosei just keeps walking 3 steps ahead, not answering. There it is, Wuju Kalguksu, the family noodle shop. Yosuk leans through the doorway and shouts inside, gripping the frame hard. Then his face goes rigid, eyes locked on something the panel won't show yet. Honestly, cut inside and 3 strangers sit calmly at a corner table, eating like they own the place. Footsteps close in fast. Yosuk barely turns before a fist cracks across his skull. He goes down yelling. Now Yosuk wipes blood from his lip and grins anyway. "Came for Wuju," he says. "Got me instead." They figure a lone, bloodied guy is an easy mark. Wrong. Yosuk explodes off the wall and kicks the masked one flat on his back. Blood sprays the tile. "Don't run," he warns. He's already dead. 2 more men grab his arms to haul him out. Then someone clocks the dragon tattoo on his forearm. Bad move. Wait, is this guy an actual civil servant? Maru shoves through the crowd. Who did this to him? Maru pushes right up in their faces. "I'm on Officer Nam Yosuk's team," he shouts. "Gangwa Island. Same badge." Well, a sneering man steps up, eyes flashing gold, and laughs that Gangwa Island is nothing but a team of defective idiots. How many of them are there? Then a hooded shape crashes into it all, and one of the mockers goes flying clean through the air. Chana's here. The leader wipes his knuckles on the fallen man's collar. So dirty, he mutters, like disgust is the whole point. "Weak punks," he says. He wants to beat them to death every time he sees one. Afterward, he just sits there, clutching his own scraped hand, staring at nothing. Blood drips steady from his mouth onto his collar. He doesn't look up. So outside, the noodle shop sign hangs over an empty, quiet street. Then a red-haired stranger straddles him on the floor. Yosuk throws his arms up, coughing blood, barely blocking. "I've been hunting you down," the man says, calm as anything. "To kill you." The Gayang 3 keep grinning over him, still swinging. Behind them, the punished officer gets up, face in shadow, one eye lit. He starts walking, slow and quiet, straight down the empty hall. One thug is still mid-swing when the counter lands, blood spraying. He's airborne. A woman finishes him with a kick while the rest just stare. Meanwhile, off to the side, a hooded Gangwa officer watches without flinching, quietly reassessing his own team. Funny, for a team everyone keeps calling weakened and washed up. A suited stranger stops him cold with one sharp shout. Turns out he's just tailing a hot-headed student, muffling him before trouble starts. Now, on a crowded train nearby, a man's head snaps around. Is that really her? He blurts her name, Chana Kang, and she turns, startled. Nearby, two strangers swap rumors. He doesn't care about Han Maru, she still believes in him. Shanna catches something bigger and freezes. What is all this? So she crouches by him fast, blood on his hands, and steadies his face. Then she rises, glare cold, and warns them she's taking her hurt teammate now. A tattooed woman lounges close by, lazy, like this is nothing new. A bespectacled man leans over the hurt pair, reminding Yosek he's still owed a reckoning. Honestly, Chaina warns them off cold, but the dark-haired woman strikes back anyway, sneering. Red hair screams he's a dead man. Then he's not. A massive hand catches his fist cold. Then a masked man drops from above, aimed straight at the red-haired thug. Two more scatter as the impact lands somewhere off to the side. Somebody spots him. The shout rips loud across the chaos. Eden Sionu. Of course, someone yells at a struggler to hold still, hauling him down by the collar. A man in white flinches hard at whatever he's just seen. Around them, the shop's already wrecked. Chairs and a mop cartwheeling through the air. The red-haired thug hoists a chair overhead, screaming he'll finish what he started. He clenches his fists, waiting. Then the counter lands, blood bursts, and the thug goes down for good. Near the wall, a bespectacled brawler pins a screaming classmate, claws raking inches from his leg. Across the room, a masked fighter has the red-haired man pinned under a taloned foot. End it now, she warns, or take a worse beating. Meanwhile, somewhere in the scrum, a hand locks onto a sleeve and won't let go. A disheveled man sits slumped nearby, groaning through gritted teeth, tie loose, hair wrecked. Now, two more suits step into the doorway, hands clasped behind their backs, waiting their turn. One clocks Chana in her spider logo cap and demands to know who she is. The bespectacled thug goes down again, pinned by a hand twice the size of his own. Chana barely gets a word out. A blast of force catches her chest and sends her flying, blood spraying mid-air. Their boss watches her crash unbothered, one hand still raised. You're not a civilian, he says, so why beat up his kids like this? Turns out this boss already knows exactly who Chana's with. His grin sharpens the second Nam Yosuk steps into view. He greets him like an old friend, mock warm, hand still in his pocket. It's clearly not a friendly reunion. Then a girl in a school uniform goes flying across the room, chair crashing behind her. She hits the floor hard, blood trickling from her nose. Standing over her is Han Maru, fangs bared, blood on his chin. He's breathing like something that isn't fully human. Does some part of him even register it's just a girl in his way? His own teammate throws up a hand and flinches back. You're crazy, he shouts. Don't do this. A hooded fighter in red strikes low, sparks flying off the impact. Maru doesn't even flinch. He grabs the momentum and flings him spinning through the air. The man crashes down hard, smoke curling off his scorched hand. Bad landing all around. A disheveled bystander stares, stunned, muttering about what kind of punk this is. Well, the fight doesn't slow down from there. A white-shirted fighter slashes in a bright arc as shadowy claws reach up from below. One man's head snaps back in a spray of blood. He crashes into a table, arms flung wide, knocked cold. Just like that, one more down. Another lunges right back in, fangs bared, kicking up dust. Now the scuffle finally starts to break apart. A red-haired man holds a woman back from behind while Yosuk yells for calm nearby. Someone in a tracksuit just holds his head dazed. Yosuk looks around, baffled at how fast it all spun out of control. Chana's on her knees in the dust. A teammate rushes over, checking if she's alright. She wipes blood from her nose, getting scolded for spreading her own yellow dust so recklessly. Naturally, our boy just grins through the apology. Someone hit his senior, he explains, so he got mad, that's all. Chana and the others laugh it off over the wreckage. One enemy still flat on the ground, buried in dust. So then their boss bursts out laughing and yellow dust pours off him too. Though he's not a Rakshasa. What is he if he can bleed dust and still call himself human? Maru gets right in his face, demanding an answer. The boss just grabs his collar, grinning wide. You wanna join my team? He asks. The Gyeong leader lounges in the wreckage, pitching his own crew as a joke. Trash personalities, devilish humans. Maru answers with his fangs still out from the fight. Such a joke, he says, he'll never join a team full of trash. Some sales pitch, refuse a recruiter, walk away clean. That's not how this ends, his smile makes clear. Somewhere behind him, someone barks at him to quit spreading yellow dust. Now he turns to the wrecked room with the real complaint. Fighting Rakshasas every day bores him out of his mind. Across the floor, Maru's people go rigid. One of them starts to say they're all something, and can't finish it. Behind him, his whole crew is glowing, branch limbs and yellow eyes. A woman-shaped shadow, a kid in a gym shirt with his stare lit gold. Is a single one of them even human? Every one of them wrong, and every one of them smiling. Meanwhile, the sign out front still reads Wuju Kalguksu. Quiet street, nothing wrong in sight. Inside, the leader sits cross-legged with a cigarette, waving people into line like it's lunch service. One woman in a tracksuit throws up a hand. Sure, this isn't right. A finger snaps. The room goes quiet. He lays out the game, a 3-on-3. Winner takes Nam Yosuk home. Yosuk sweats through it, head down. The prize nobody asked him about. Then the leader swings on Maru and calls him a Rakshasa human. How does this stranger already know what he is? Chana just stares. Speechless is the only word for it. Behind the enemy lines, something reaches out. Branch fingers closing around a masked stranger like a fourth teammate stepping up. Of course, the masked one in glasses laughs off the shop's one rule. No killing, calls it inhuman, calls it a joke. Across from him, the Ganghwa side goes still. Nobody's laughing back. One of their own pulls his gloves on, curious what a human ability user can do. Wooju grabs his arm before he can move. Are you crazy? He asks. Are you turning into one of them? Turns out Channa already has a plan. Calm while everyone else braces. Buy time. Don't try to win outright. That's her only advice. Why? Someone asks. And she won't say. She tells him he'll see later, then asks who's going first. Across the floor, someone's already bored of waiting. He steps up grinning, gloves on, ready. Jiwon's hidden eye catches it first, glowing gold behind her glasses. Something's reflected inside it, a shape that shouldn't be there. She covers it fast and warns the room. He breaks his own body just to land a hit. Naturally, that's when the volunteer stops pretending to be a man, root and branch tearing out of his shoulders, claws dripping. He strides forward on one promise. I'll go. His fist swells thick with veins and years of grudge behind it. He's been wanting to beat that punk to death, he growls. Then the arm keeps going past where an arm should stop, stretching, twisting, closing the distance in one wrong, elastic second. So the tendril brawler throws everything he's got and Maru barely reacts. He fixes his glove and asks if that's really all there is. Wrong move. The brawler's grin splits wider. Of course not, and he doubles the attack. Tendrils whip out and catch him mid-air before he can dodge. One wraps around his throat and squeezes. Can he even breathe through this? He's wrapped tight now, one hand limp, his ability useless while he's bound like this. She leans in and asks if he's still not surrendering. Of course not, so she goes for the one part still exposed. Something I can still break, clumsy bastard, she says and stabs for his eye. Turns out he's not done, not even close. A clawed hand rips free of the tendrils and locks around the brawler's throat instead. Could he actually flip this before he blacks out? He does. Down he goes, pinned, grip tightening with every second as the brawler chokes. Yoonji Won steps over and straightens his collar like nothing happened. Stand properly, she says. He groans. Just like that, round 2 is hers too. Somewhere behind the dust, one of the watching Gaeyang fighters mutters that this can't be right. Now the blue-haired one steps up smiling. Next up, a neck fracture. He grabs the second brawler and squeezes until the man's screaming, sweating through it. A teammate yanks him back. That's enough, she snaps. They're not here to kill anyone. 2 bodies hit the floor and Ganghwa calls it. This round is 1-2. Along the wall, the Gaeyang crowd goes quiet. On the floor, the tattooed loser is still groaning about how much it hurts. The suited man watching just hums, unbothered, quietly recounting the odds. Not his problem, apparently. The tracksuit woman drops a knee onto his back to make sure he stays down. 2 more shapes loom out of the smoke, one fully masked, eyes glowing white. Already, word of the losing streak is moving through the room. Meanwhile, 2 of Ganghwa's own compare notes on the stall for time plan. One grumbles that the other didn't buy them enough time. Gosh, comes the reply. He bought plenty, what's the problem? The tracksuit woman just laughs it off and asks who's next. This time it's worse, an iron rakshasa, blood turned to knives on command. Whoever answers the call is already sweating before the fight even starts. Someone shoves the ponytailed woman forward. It's a perfect match, they tell her, whether she likes it or not. Across from her, blood bursts from the enemy's wrists and hardens into blades. The tag calls her the bone knife rakshasa, 2 dripping blades already in her hands. The ponytailed woman tries reason first. Maybe they both skip the knives, she offers. It's dangerous enough without them. Of course, that offer goes nowhere. More blades sprout and she leaps in, slashing hard mid-air. The hit lands, blood in her mouth. Damn it, she spits. This can't keep going like this. Then a second attacker crashes in, claws bared. A woman in white catches the blade barehanded before it can land. Their swordswoman is still locked with the claw fighter when a slash finally gets through and opens her side. Blood soaks her hip as she twists clear of a kick aimed at her skull. Maru drops in fast, meaning to hit her light and step back, but the claws answer on their own. Did he really just take her out that hard? He pulls her up, admitting he couldn't hold the power back, while Yoonji Won just stares, stunned. Of course, someone on their own side turns it into a joke. Real good at buying time, 10-second cut. She looks down, sweating, and admits she's never fought a human before, only rakshasas. Meanwhile, a smirking man in a dark robe says nothing, silhouettes crowding the smoke behind him. Their leader isn't smiling now, his eyes starting to glow. He'd heard the Ganghwa team was nothing but weak people. He snaps his fingers, smoke curling off the motion. Off to the side, a green-haired man is still arguing the rules, gripping a hooded fighter sleeve. He insists the whole round makes no sense. Someone waves it off, keeping the stakes at 3 points instead of raising them. Naturally, one of them jabs a finger and shouts, accusing someone of going after their own team leader, and Nam Yo-suk and the 2 beside him just gape. Idiot, someone mutters. Nobody even argues. To be fair, the green-haired man looks like he's having the time of his life. He grins wider while the man behind him tenses up. Bad sign. Then his eye flares orange again, and this time it holds. Inside the glow sits a tiny horned shape watching back, not human at all. Honestly, not everyone on their side is celebrating. One man cradles another's bleeding head, asking if he's okay, what happened. The bloodied one just stares past him, still wondering if that punk is even human. For a moment, the fight drops away, and Maru stands alone in a world of red, jagged spikes and fire. Is any of this even him anymore? Elsewhere, a blood-soaked masked man locks eyes with something off-panel. Well, the memory rewinds to somewhere quieter. Wu-Ju, tie loosened, gets teased for how much he's eating and just leans back, grinning. Not far off, a suited man is already giving the order, "Send the best of my team." Just like that, someone yanks him back by the collar. He startles, blurting out why the team leader and everyone else are suddenly here. Then he's walking a dust-worn floor, mismatched shoes hinting a fight is close. So, someone wipes the sweat off Wu-Ju's face and tells him to breathe. His parents are already home safe. It's the one thing that actually calms him. The suited man claps a hand hard on Wu-Ju's head, announcing him to the team. Wu-Ju winces at the smack. Then come the terms: calm as anything, fight well, and he'll earn his transfer. Dust kicks up, tie flailing. Wu-Ju steps into the fight he was promised his way out of. Just then, the vision opens on Wu-Ju's childhood, a giant mouth grinning over the street. Insults swarm him like static. Stupid bastard, pig bastard, outcast since grade school. Why would a bastard like him ever get a Rakshasa's power? Now it drags him back to the present, sweat pouring as he grips his own arm inside the thing's jaws. Whose memory is this? Even the voice telling it isn't sure. Turns out it isn't just his pain in here. A masked crowd closes around someone else, one of them filming it on a phone, grinning. Dark tendrils rip out of the victim's body in a burst, tearing the jacket and drawing blood. Honestly, the thing doesn't just replay pain, it inflicts it. A blade tendril whips in from behind and drives into Wu-Ju's neck the moment he tries to talk back. Blood pours over his hands. Someone screams for it to stop, and it doesn't. The blade finds his chest. Wu-Ju goes down, coughing blood. Maru drops beside him, shaking. Is he even still breathing, he wonders, asking about the power that might save him. Something answers from inside Maru instead, and green fire tears out of his own mouth as he collapses, screaming. Shanna screams his name across the room. A hand shoots out and holds her back before she can run to him. Their captor wastes no time. He crosses to Maru, venom smoking off his skin, and demands surrender before it eats his organs. Torn open and steaming, he still says it. Not yet, I haven't given up. Meanwhile, something swings back hard enough to roll their captor's eyes white. Rules, though, are his. Attack him or lose. That's the only move allowed. He's bleeding, bowed, and ordered to turn on his own side. Instead, he lunges the other way, teeth bared, fist already swinging. Win against you and end this game, he screams. And the punch lands on their captor, not the ally. Of course, their captor barely blinks, catching the punch by the collar, calm as ever. Follow my rules, he says. That can't happen. A blade presses to his throat, and this time there's no room to dodge. He goes down hard, blood blooming across his shirt, a scream tearing loose on the way down. Naturally, the others freeze first, crouched low and startled by the sound of it. Then a teammate spots two bodies down and shouts, and the alarm finally spreads. Yosuk just breathes, ragged and wet-eyed, pink-streaked hair plastered to his face. Then someone calls it out. Level 9, gravity-type Rakshasa. That's what they've actually been fighting. He loosens his tie like he's clocking out, not closing in. How long has he been holding back? You'd never guess it from the necktie, but he's the level 9 himself. His shoe comes down slow on whoever's left on the floor. Maru's still on the floor, arm raised, bracing as the suited man closes in. Face down and bleeding, he can't explain why the wound's already healing. Recovery skill, the suited man asks. So fast, what's with this body? Then grins, promising to crank the gravity up just for him. Now the gravity slams down, and his ribs cave in on the x-ray. Blood sprays from his mouth, he collapses, shaking. Special, he whispers. What does that even mean? Somewhere in the dark, something flashes rows of jagged fangs. Then it's gone. No, Maru thinks. He has to do something instead of dwelling on it. He forces himself up onto hands and knees, blood streaking the floor. The suited man just stands there, watching him crawl. Of course, the suited man's gauge stays silent, and that confuses him. Why isn't it saying anything, he mutters, adjusting his tie. Maru grits his teeth. His usual trick, the mental attack, isn't working. This guy can't be hurt that way. Calm now. Hands in his pockets, the suited man sizes up his partner. A psychopath, he thinks. Why does someone like that get Rakshasa power? The masked man presses a scalpel to his throat, promising to open his lungs next. Psychopath Maru spits back, blood in his teeth. Meanwhile, across the room, Yosuk barks one word. Now. Shauna's already moving, driving her bloodied blade down in one clean strike. The striped shirt man flies backward, knife still locked in his fist. Bad move. Another one crumples to the tile before he even understands why. Just like that, a fist yanks another one hard by the collar. The blue-haired one and the teal-haired one both choke out in pain. Someone's boot pins a dropped knife flat against the floor. The green-haired one goes still, listening to a flat threat about running out of air. Bodies tangle close in the dark, the struggle almost too tight to read. Then someone screams for help. Officer Chana Kang. A clawed black hand rips a tendon straight out of someone's arm. Naturally, the masked man flicks the blood off his blade first. Now that the noise is dealt with, he says, "Shall they keep playing?" Maru goes down again, breath ragged, one hand stretched out on the tile. So, the masked man repeats himself. The noise is gone, shall they continue? Maru's back on the floor, coughing, barely holding on. Damn it, he thinks. The gravity's dragging him under. What's he supposed to do now? The masked man announces, closed for today, knife still dripping. Well, he turns and walks off. Nothing but a shadow behind the frosted glass. Somewhere behind him, a body lies still in a spreading pool on the floor. Then 3 of them go tumbling through the dark, Yosuk among them, straight toward the tile. One man lands dazed, reaching a shaking hand toward a strange black stain. Turns out nobody down here knows what it even is. Just then, Chana's on the ground when he finds her, barely holding her head up. You're finally here, she breathes. You're late. Meanwhile, the fight hasn't stopped moving around her. One body sails past and crashes down. Another fist already cocked for the next swing. Someone in a cap drags a battered teammate out by the arm, a phone still clutched in his other hand. Now the man in the floral shirt stands alone under a flickering sign. Blood dots his collar. Black tear tracks streak down his face, and he's smiling like none of it touches him. Here's the twist. He was never human at all. The darkness Rakshasa. Somero surfaces out of dark water and smoke, bruised, gasping, not sure where he even is. His arms move before he tells them to, like some unseen hands got him on strings. He comes to lying under a shop lamp, price tags hanging on the wall behind him. Now the masked gravity Rakshasa looms over him, knife loose in hand. Something's wrong, and Maru feels it before he can name it. Why can't he even land a hit? He's crouched in his own blood, hands shaking, barely tracking straight. The masked man raises the knife again, pale hands looming behind him like he's got more than 2 arms. Then it flips. It's Maru's grip on the blade now, buried in his throat. Blood spills from the man's lips, and the psychopath stops moving for good. Maru's eyes brim over, wet and empty. Is this even him anymore? He curls over the blood, sobbing that he can't feel anything at all. He begs for someone, anyone to help him. Something else grabs him from behind before he can breathe. A clawed, shadowy hand drags him down, and he screams for it to stop. Then he's back on his feet, calm, blood drying on his face while he tugs a glove into place, his eyes gone dark behind them. Turns out that same shadow isn't finished yet. It finds the floral shirt man next, clawing into his face and yanking him clean off his feet. He crashes down hard, face first, blood spreading across the tile. One eye leaks red where the claw caught him. Well, when he drags himself back up, the masked gravity Rakshasa isn't moving anymore. Whatever kept him breathing just stopped. Yosuk and Chana step through the wreckage and go still at what they find. The floral shirt man spins around startled, fist already rising, Hanmaru's name the first thing out of his mouth. He snaps at her, demanding to know if she's ready to quit the badge altogether. All she gives him back is a look at the floor and a quiet apology. No, she says, flat and immediate. Now that it's come to this, he warns back, he isn't about to let it slide. So, the reckoning starts at a glass tower in Seoul, HQ's own turf. Co-workers in a dim office spot a shadow lingering in a lit doorway. It's Hanmaru, cuffed and chained, disheveled suit hanging off him. He sits with his head down, sweat beading, dreading what comes next. What's going to happen to him now? An empty hallway leads to the elevators, then straight into a conference room. Around the table sits Kangcha in burgundy, apart from the rest of the officials. He lays down HQ's decision cold. We'll manage Hanmaru from now on. Namyosei himts a hand over his mouth, stunned. Maru, Yoonjiwon, and Yosek sit in a row, saying nothing. Their fate just got decided over their heads. A burgundy-suited official explodes, demanding to know if anyone realizes how dangerous Maru is. Namyosuk stays seated, arms crossed, voice level. He's sure the man already knows plenty himself. That team, he says, is nothing but bad people. Then he turns it straight on director Jung Il-do, naming him by name. Jung Il-do covers his mouth, eyes narrowing, swallowing his own anger. Honestly, the burgundy man isn't done. Leaning in to protest the insult was said in front of everyone. Jung Il-do just waves it off, says it's fine. Shana sits with her head bowed, tired eyes on the table. The organization, she murmurs, never cared about a special civil servant's personality anyway. Kangcha rests her chin on her hand, eyes narrowed, listening close. They need him, she says, for the fight against the Rakshasas. She smirks. Maru wants to fight. The team leader on Gangwa Island can't stand it. Everyone knows that. Yoonjiwon leans in, backing her up. No personality problems, she says. Just a fighter they actually need. Of course, all 3 get named as his handlers since they're close to him. One of them flinches, sweat breaking, mouth falling open. Huh? Maru, hollowed out, asks if they can finally leave. The 3 stand facing a heavy wooden door, backs to the room. His face crumples in a tight, silent close-up, something between a sob and a gasp. Chana glances back at him, eyes wide and unreadable. What just happened in there? Outside, walking down the steps, Maru finally asks how it went. Will he be alright? Chana notices the team leader's necktie hanging loose and asks what happened. He yanks it the rest of the way off. 3 months of discipline, he says. Pay cut for all 3 of them. Gongwa Island's team took the responsibility, he explains, so the incident got buried. Next time, there's no covering for them. Alone after, the team leader sits in the dark, rubbing his head, knuckles white. He stands, scratch marks rake down his leg, a leftover from some earlier fight. What happens, he wonders, if Hanmaru loses his mind completely? Now cut to a different room, a different kind of tense. A wavy-haired man sits with his chin propped, smiling faintly, something hostile hiding under it. Across from him, Maru stares back hard, jaw locked, eyes unreadable. Maru throws his head back and laughs, sharp and humorless. Huh, gosh. He stands, straightens his jacket, smile gone cold. 20 years apart, and that's really all you've got to say to me. Fine. He's leaving. The director doesn't blink. Sit down, he orders. This isn't a father's favor, it's the director's command. His father doesn't raise his voice, hands steepled, eyes down on the table. Dust is no different from a rakshasa, he says flatly. Maru just takes it. Meanwhile, Maru's miles away in his head, still hearing his father's words on loop. He barely hears them. Then it cuts hard, blood soaked across his face and hand. Badge held high, same calm smile. The next day, his building looks ordinary from outside, nothing wrong at all. Inside, it's a wreck, soju bottles and crusted dishes piled in the sink. Honestly, he wasn't even this bad during exam prep, and then a knock stops him cold. He shuffles to the door on a cane, still sore, and pulls it open. A shirtless stranger rolls his shoulder like he already owns the place. Starting today, the guy declares, and just like that, clothes are hitting the floor everywhere. Where's he putting his hands, Maru wonders, sweat breaking cold down his neck. Do I really have to do this? His minder hauls in bags, spelling out the deal, work and home together, round the clock. Of course, something's fuming behind a coworker's desk again, flaring up like an open flame. Yosuke warns everyone not to scold him in case he blows yellow dust out of spite. Maru whips around at that, catches himself mid-sigh, and goes quiet. Sighed? Let me see, a coworker snaps, yanking his face around to check. Maru shoves his own fingers down his throat, gagging, just to prove the sigh was clean. Then he's alone in the hallway, one thought looping, he's not a monster, he just breathes. Meanwhile, two officers trade notes near his desk, keeping their voices down. Hanmaru can't be called a normal ability user anymore, one admits, wiping his hands clean. He might be our enemy, the other finally says. The dark-haired one scowls, jaw tight, sick of being nagged about trouble. Why would I? He shoots back, flat and cold, saying he doesn't care about him at all. A coworker just watches him walk off, unable to figure out why he's acting so different today. A senior calls to Officer Kang, then welcomes Kim Woo-ju to the team on his first day. Kang doesn't even look up, her hands already moving, grabbing a fistful of his hair before he can flinch. Her stare stays blank, red eyes locked on him, not even a blink. It's simple, she says. If one more problem hits, nobody can protect this team again. Kim Woo-ju starts to answer, then the words just die in his throat. Minutes later, he's alone at his desk, the office empty around him. First day, and the silence already says more than anyone did. Meanwhile, Hanmaru's slumped in his chair, griping about the workload. His eyes drift shut from sheer boredom. A memo rattles out of the printer nearby. He reads it by the window, praying for one thing, no fieldwork. Then a sound cracks through the quiet, and he flinches. Two men stride in. One's bald, one's in a maroon striped suit. Both wear the same ugly scowl. The one in maroon swings first. His fist catches Maru square in the face, blood spraying across the floor. The blow sends him flying backward, hitting the ground hard. The bald one hauls him up by the collar, blood dripping from Maru's nose. Release some yellow dust, now, he snarls. Maru grits his teeth, gripping his own collar, and says nothing. Honestly, Yoonji-won doesn't need to say much. One more incident, and the whole Gonghwa team loses its cover, she reminds him. Pinned and bleeding, Maru swallows every urge to fight back. Hurry up and prove it, the man barks, fist shaking, or he'll smash his face in. Turns out the man in maroon isn't here to help his partner. He decks the bald one himself. One clean hit. Down he goes, bleeding from the eye. Scrambling up, the bald man yanks Maru straight. He's apologizing to someone just off panel now, calling him clueless, ignorant, anything to smooth it over. Then the twist lands. The stranger was never here to fight. He's a fan. The stranger's grin splits wide, reaching for him like a long-lost friend. I've wanted to meet you, King Maru, he gushes. Maru just blinks through the blood on his hands. Is that really me? Now two men have him boxed in on both sides, one hollering some title he's never even heard, the other losing his mind. Dazed, blood dripping from his nose, all Maru manages is 3 words. I'm the best. Of course, by the next morning, it's back to business. Maru standing in a crowd in his black suit, resigned. No way, he mutters. Tomorrow's going to be rough. Something's off in his stare, spooked by nothing he can name. What was that, he wonders. His partner catches it, asking if something's wrong. Well, the mountain sunset burns orange over the tree line as the two of them reach the post. Maru circles a tall metal device half buried in the trail, checking its gauges. Damn it, why won't this thing work, he mutters, fist clenched. Naturally, someone else is waiting nearby, a black-haired stranger with a smile too thin to trust. The bespectacled officer bows low, nervous sweat on his brow. Or not, he catches himself, then bows again. Thanks for last time, he adds, like he still owes him one. Mid-thanks, the stranger's leg snaps out, briefcase still in hand. Contact. I thought Officer Han was the one making this dust, he says. So why is it still here? So, the reading wasn't Officer Han's. Smoke slides from his mouth, eyes gone flat and mean. Deeper in the pines, something gray and hairless just stands there, sores blistering its chest, waiting. He hauls Wooju up by the arm, blood crusting under his glasses. There shouldn't be a Rakshasa alarm in headquarters, he snaps. They push past the tree line, something huge looming just out of focus. Wooju's still hyping him up, calling him the best Rakshasa fighter in the whole division. Honestly, that's all it takes. Maru's boot slams into the creature before the sentence even lands. He doesn't let go, gripping its shoulder hard enough to bruise. Only one way to finish a level 1 clean, he mutters, and it isn't pretty. When he straightens up, the thing lies naked and still. Of course, our boy wipes his face like he's just done paperwork. Somewhere behind him, Wooju claps like it's a show, grinning. But wait, why does he look almost see-through? A faint gold light traces up Maru's arms, and even he doesn't recognize the feeling. Dead already, he thinks, so why isn't this over? Sweat cuts through the blood on his face before his eyes even confirm it. The wounds on its back aren't closing, they're spreading. Dark circles blooming under pale skin. Then it stands back up taller, jaw cracking wide, teeth sharpening right in front of him. Turns out a level 1 Rakshasa just became a level 2. Something's wrong, cold presses into his lungs, breath fogging in short bursts. Just what is going on, he mutters. Now the gray thing shudders, skin peeling back, getting stronger by the second. Bare feet kick through the haze, walking straight toward them. Jiwon watches the dust climb and does the math out loud. This much dust, she says, could mean a level 5. Meanwhile, Wooju bolts already on the phone, calling the rest of the team in. Maru just stands there in the dust, dazed, missing the danger closing in behind his friend. Watch out, someone screams. A masked figure blurs across the sky, closing the distance fast. Not fast enough. The creature's glowing hand closes on Wooju's face. It connects. Wooju takes the hit point blank, a raw grunt tearing out of him. Green light rips out of him, and the monster takes the counter head on. Its chest tears open, ribs showing through a fresh, ugly wound. It's changing again, he shouts, damn near breathless. Every fatal wound just hardens into another shell, Jiwon explains, the thing armoring itself to grow stronger. Cracks spread down its stone-hard leg, blood already drying in the sand. Light glows through the fractures in its skin, that fanged mouth splitting wider. Muscle tears free of the shell, a bigger, stronger body climbing out of the wreck. Debris rains down around it, nobody moves. The creature stands there, freshly changed, sweat and fluid still dripping down its chest. Someone off-panel spots it first, calling it out as an evolution Rakshasa. A hand reaches toward it through the dust. This isn't over. Now 2 officers watch through the haze, one of them wide-eyed behind his glasses. Someone turns toward the fight. Dark hair, a fresh scar by his jaw. Red bubbles burst across the thing's skin. It does that every time it evolves. One officer flinches, wondering out loud if it could reach level 10. Well, someone else cuts in. This is bad, even Wooju needs to retreat now. He doesn't. A teammate in green plaid reaches for his shoulder, sweat on his face, worry all over him. Wooju walks on ahead, calm, and grips the man's shoulder back. Don't worry, he says. I'm stronger than you think. Then the same teammate spins and shouts, a blade's coming in fast. So Wooju leaps straight over the huge bald shape below him, his jacket tearing off midair. He cocks a fist and drives it down with everything he's got. The creature dodges, clean, and Wooju's whole swing finds nothing but air. Did it just get faster? A kick catches him next, harder than anything it threw before, and it hurts worse this time. He coughs blood, doubles over in the air, and slams into the dirt. Another hit sends him flying, and something inside him gives way all at once. Every bone in his body is broken, so why isn't he evolving? His shirt is torn open over bruises he shouldn't have survived. Damn it, he thinks. Maybe his own fast healing is blocking this punk's power from triggering at all. A huge shape looms over him, fist rising for another blow. There's only one option left. Wooju screams at his attacker to hit him harder, to just do it. Turns out light drops from above and punches straight through the attacker, sudden and final. Someone shouts, it's dangerous, stay back, while Wooju lies bleeding below. A second strike lands wrapped in green light, and the huge shape goes flying. Just like that, it turns away from them, wounds hissing and steaming across its back. Yoonji-won flinches behind her glasses, sweat beading, eyes wide at what she's just seen. Meanwhile, a gray-skinned giant rises up, red gem-like marks glowing across its chest. A blade comes down on it, and the giant just catches it bare-handed. Its fist answers, smashing straight into the hand still holding that blade. One more blow lands square on the face, blood splattering everywhere. The giant grips the wrist tight now, cracks spreading across its own scarred face, while its victim bleeds from the mouth and chest. Beside them, a ghoul-faced monster shrieks, jaws wide, rotted gray skin stretched tight. Its own neck is slashed open, blood still running down from an earlier hit. So Maru hauls Wooju up by the shoulders, his own mouth still dripping blood. Are you alright? He asks, voice cracking. A voice in the smoke tells him to leave, Officer Han. Go call for backup. But Wooju's healing has stalled completely. Can he really leave him out here like this? No one's coming. Great. This fight is his alone now. Honestly, Maru squares up to the thing towering over him and strips off his tie like he's clocking in for overtime. 3 evolutions left until its final form, it tells him, almost bored. Now, his fist lands square in its chest, glowing, and the monster staggers back a step. Good, he thinks. He still has to rip it apart before the cocoon finishes hatching. He watches the hit land, certain that's the end of it. Turns out it isn't. The cocoon's still growing, evolving right in front of him. He grabs the fleshy mass forming near its skull and tears. Rip it off now, and that's one more evolution gone. The fight comes down to a grapple in the dust, then nothing. Maru coughs blood, eyes rolling back, and drops. A wound tears open across his chest, wide and dark, and he doesn't get up. Somewhere past consciousness, the wounded shape looms bigger, cracked skin glowing at the chest. Nearby, a stranger reaches up, mid-transformation of his own. Finally, I'm evolving, he starts to say. He never finishes. His mouth tears open before the word does. The monstrous thing walks on past him like nothing happened. The blur keeps coming. A fist raised, a scream, a body thrown flying through smoke and fire. No, someone shouts, and then the picture itself seems to fall apart into streaks. He's falling now, mouth open on a scream, wind ripping his hair back. Then the blast goes white and his head splits open right along with it. He hits the ground and stays down until the vision finally lets go. Then he jolts upright, drenched, gasping like he's just surfaced from underwater. Two shapes lie below him in the dirt and his stomach drops. He's running before the thought even finishes. Officer Kim Wooju, hang in there, he calls out, chasing his own voice through the trees. Is he actually moving faster? Naturally, the evolution worked. He's quicker now, maybe fast enough to make it in time. He skids to a stop in the trees, staring down at a torn coat and a bag left scattered on the ground. Now Maru circles the same stretch of woods, one hand braced on a trunk, throat tight. Where did he go? His phone buzzes against his hip and he almost misses it. Down the hall, Yosuk shrugs his loud jacket back into place, phone wedged at his ear. Right, he says, already moving fast. Maru answers on the move, phone to his ear, still shoving through the brush. Find Wooju, Yosuk tells him, get him somewhere safe. A warning alarm cuts the call short and his stomach drops. He finds Wooju face down among the rocks and drops to his knee. Officer, he starts, are you alright? But the question trails off when his own hand comes back red. No way. He's kneeling in blood that no one body should hold this much of. He hauls Wooju in and screams, wake up, don't die. Please, Wooju breathes. The word barely more than air. His hand shakes against the dirt, then goes still. Maru just holds him tighter, like grip alone could keep him here. Is he breathing? The back of his head doesn't move again, not even a shiver. Something in Maru tears loose. His shirt rips open from the inside, like grief needs somewhere to go. He walks toward the mound in the trees, smoke curling off his bare back. So Chana's phone lights up mid-stride. Don't fight it alone, the voice warns. Wait until I get there. She doesn't wait. On the hillside, a crowd watches smoke climb over the town. A level 10 Rakshasa, someone radios, catastrophic if nobody stops it in time. Of course their car hits gridlock, and the driver's knuckles go white on the wheel. Chana tears through the dust at a dead sprint, eyes locked forward. A shape flickers in the haze. She's found him. Han Maru. She breathes. And for a moment, relief cuts through the fear. He only bares his teeth. Don't come any closer, he warns. But she doesn't move, red-rimmed eyes steady on him. Maru shoves Chana back and tells her to run. He'll handle this alone. Mid-word, his jaw stretches wrong. Fangs push through his mouth. Chana grips his bare shoulder, watching him change. The evolution Rakshasa, she breathes. Then it hits her. This isn't the monster. It's him. The shape rising out of the dust is barely human now, pale and ridged all over. Wind tears past legs that don't look like his anymore. Chana reaches for his face as he leans down. He's been fighting this alone the whole time, she realizes, all the way to level 10. Now his grip tightens on a sharpened stake, hair hiding his eyes. Could he really match a level 10 by himself? He has to finish this alone, no one else can. He raises the stake over his own head, ready to drive it in. Chana lunges from behind, grabbing his wrist before it lands. Not again, not like this. Turns out getting fatally hurt would let him evolve too, he says, just like it does. Chana's chest goes tight. This isn't the Han Maru she knows. Something's changed in him and she doesn't know what. She doesn't wait for an answer. Chana presses a blade to his back, gripping his hand to guide it. Steel bites in, blood sprays. She says she doesn't care anymore. She can live even if this kills her. Of course she means it. She drives the stake into his chest herself, blood spraying from the wound. She screams, hands shaking, blood on her own face now too. For a second, she just stands over him as dust settles, not sure if he's still breathing. Silence. She sees it now, old scars layered under the fresh wound, a map of them down his back. How many times, she whispers, and it isn't really a question. You don't walk away from a wound like that once, let alone the dozens carved into his back. Well, the Rakshasa winds up behind her, bandaged fist cocked, and Chana doesn't see it coming. Maru catches the blow before it lands. Bad move. He swings back hard enough to spray blood clean across the clearing. Honestly, the wind doesn't last. He coughs blood of his own, and the creature's wound is already knitting shut. The creature lunges back in, slashing, and rips its own arm free mid-strike. The force sends Maru flying, and he crashes down hard through the debris, screaming, hand clawing at his torn collar. Could he take much more of this? So the kick lands clean, catching the evolution Rakshasa across the neck. Down it goes. It folds into the broken stone and doesn't move again. Off in the dark, a gray-haired man watches and smirks like he's enjoying the show. Nobody here knows his face. Meanwhile, past the tree line, a rescue officer stumbles onto a body half buried behind the trunks. Blood soaks the frozen ground beneath it. He freezes, breath fogging, unable to make sense of how this happened. Chana's face goes white, sweat streaks down her skin, her mouth hangs open like the air just left her lungs. Maru swings again, hair snapping back with the force of it. Someone nearby breathes that they've never seen him this blank before. He throws the punch dead center, his shirt tearing further with emotion. It connects hard, blood bursts from the impact, and the Rakshasa folds backward. Turns out it's not a one-time trick. Maru drives a shard into his own fist and lights it up with power again. What's it going to take to end this, he wonders. Well, the bandaged one isn't done yet. It grabs Maru mid-swing and slams him straight down into the ground. The impact doesn't stop there. It detonates. A blast tears through the whole forest below, trees and rock thrown skyward. Chana bursts out of the smoke, blood soaking her side, and screams his name, Maru. An officer lunges through the chaos, catching a wrist before someone goes down. Nearby, another agent just stares at the wreck and mutters, wondering why Maru is even here. Of course he is. Meanwhile, across the water, a lit office tower stays wide awake at this hour. Inside, a shadowed figure on the phone says Team Leader Go Deokman just passed the word along. Behind him, an empty chair sits waiting, its wheels still turning. At Incheon headquarters, Jigum Ok folds her hands and says her people are already on the way. Kangcha asks if he's heard. Feet up on the desk, Go Deokman doesn't even look up from his tablet. Kangcha's voice goes flat and serious. The civilian casualties, he says, were devastating. Go Deokman leans down over him, announcing himself like he hasn't already noticed. Then he adds one more thing, smiling like he's saving the best for last. And also, back in the wreckage, the bandaged Rakshasa hauls itself up, muttering curses about that punk. It stands, steady again, despite everything. It stalks past its own clawed foot, sparks still hissing off broken skin. A young officer spots it and gasps. That crazy guy, no way. It lunges, claw reaching, while someone screams for it to stop. Maru rips the last of his shirt off and squares up as the bandaged one crouches to meet him. How many more of these is he going to fight tonight? Then he's sprinting in, kicking up dust, closing the distance fast. Maru leaps straight into the swing, and the bandaged giant's fist meets him in midair. Both of them connect at the same instant, impact blinding. A shockwave rips through the whole clearing. Blood already pools on the ground beneath where they stood. First blood, and it's not clear yet whose. Meanwhile, a yellow-jacketed officer clenches his shaking fist. Of course, someone's finally deciding to step in. I can't just stand by, he tells himself. Maru's punch lands with a wet, dark burst. Claws rake down his ribs in the same instant, and for a second, it looks even. Then the enemy's arm splits wide open instead, blood spraying out in a hot arc. Maru drops to a knee, gut torn open, hand shoved straight into his own wound. What is he doing to himself? Nearby, Nam Yosuk bites his fingernail, disbelief written across his face. Somehow the guy just put his bare hand through a Rakshasa's skull. Turns out he wasn't bluffing. His fist punches clean through the creature's skull and it screams, jaw stretched wide. Maru grips it close and bites down into torn flesh. Blood spraying, a fresh wound splitting open on his own chest. Somewhere close, a woman screams off panel, mouth wide, eyes blown open with sheer horror. He's not done. Maru straddles a fallen figure in white and keeps swinging. Blood streaking down his raised arm, his face eerily calm. Blood speckles his skin now. Breath ragged, eyes half-lidded. Another punch lands, wet and final. Just like that, the yellow-jacketed officer finally moves, grabbing Maru's blood-soaked arm and shouting for him to stop. Meanwhile, feet pound the dirt close by, one chasing, one running. A long-haired woman walks out of the dark, dragging a blood-slick blade, a faint, unsettling smile on her face. Her hand closes over a bloodied shoe on the ground, right where the blade and the bandaged body lie. Maru rips into the bandaged figure again, and an ear tears loose and flies. He lifts a hand caked in blood and just stares at it. Whose hand even is this anymore? Then Chana wraps her arms around him from behind. Maru. It's all over, she says. Now a group comes running. Nam Yosuk, a suited officer, Yoon Ji-won. What happened? Is it over? Someone calls out. The suited officer can't quite believe it. Did the team leader and Kangcha actually handle this? Maru looks back at the bloodied heap behind him, what's left of a level 10 Rakshasa. A blue-haired officer stares, sweat rolling down his face. He took down a level 10 alone, he breathes. No way. Chana holds on, arms locked around him, his eyes glassy and unfocused in the dark forest. Later, a framed portrait sits behind curling incense smoke. Kim Hooju, smiling in a suit, a black mourning ribbon draped over the frame. Incense sticks burn down slow on the altar, smoke curling past a plain white candle. Two mourners kneel together on the floor beside it, one's face buried in the other's shoulder, grief still raw. Nam Yosuk stands in line with the others in black, a masked officer beside him, all of them somber. His turquoise-streaked hair falls forward as he looks down, saying nothing. Someone in a black coat starts explaining what's next, hands raised mid-thought. To this, he begins, and trails off. So the question finally lands. How are they supposed to handle Kim Woo-ju's accident? Nam Yosuk just rubs his head, wincing. At least the Rakshasa never got to the body, he manages. At least there's something left to bury. Gang Manhwa Island is no longer a safe zone, she tells them, flat and grim. One of them reacts in open shock, mouth falling wide. The other just stares at the floor, jaw tight, saying nothing. A desk sits untouched nearby, badge and lanyard left behind, an envelope unopened beside them. No, he submitted a resignation letter and vanished, someone says. They'll report it to their superiors tomorrow. Someone urges the others to go talk to him. No, comes the flat answer. He won't come back. The frame goes dark for a second, the scene shifting. Chana stares ahead, red eyes wide and empty. Hanmaru's voice comes low, almost to himself. I was the only one who survived, he says. He walks off with his hands stuffed in his pockets, head down. His tie hangs loose, shirt untucked, each step slower than the last. Days later, he's passed out on his bed, the room buried in empty cans. He mumbles something about never getting back what's gone. Then the dark takes him. Well, he's out cold, dead to the world. Below him, a jagged purple crack splits open in the wall. Then it happens. A blood-soaked hand punches straight through the wall, tearing wood and plaster apart. Fingers claw at the air, dripping red. Meanwhile, the hand rips free of the wall completely, wide open now. He flinches back and something huge looms behind him in the dark, blood-streaked head to foot. She came to talk is the first thing she manages. She's calm despite the blood covering her face and neck. Did I surprise you? Understatement of the year. He scrambles back across the bed, bare feet catching the sheets, too stunned to answer. Turns out she just killed a Rakshasa on her way here, blood still dripping from her arm. She didn't even change first. She grips her own soaked sleeve, calm, like it's nothing new. Now she's standing right over him, blood dried dark on her jacket. She brings up that incident and his whole body locks up. What does she know about it? Hands trembling, he can barely get the words out. She just smirks, blood smeared across her neck, unbothered by any of it. He spins around, catching movement behind him, too late. She's already got her arms around him from behind, blood soaked and close. Wait, do you know my father? He asks. Of course, she says. She and his dad led the same squad, years back. Really is all he can manage. What is she not telling him? She sinks onto the bed, hands folded, face hidden behind her hair, grieving something old. Then the memory drags them backward all the way to 1999. Gunfire rips into the tree line, muzzle flashes lighting up the dark. Somewhere close, a scream tears through the night. A soldier grips his own collar, sweating, panicking. Damn it, what's going on, he says. Smoke clears on a shape most of them have never seen up close. Conical black hood, blood-red armor, a torn tassel whipping in the wind. 3 grenade blasts flare off its raised blade. It doesn't even blink. Now Lieutenant Han Suan takes point, 30 years old, screaming one order. Focus and fire, he yells, and the whole squad opens up together. One man spins at a sound behind him, too late. A blade punches clean through his jacket before he can turn. Another takes the full swing across the chest. Blood sprays wide over the grass. Turns out the answer is grenades. Someone yanks the pin, hands shaking, and screams for everyone to throw them all. The masked fighter leaps straight through the falling grenades, weapons still raised. Someone screams for the line to get down, and everyone drops as one. The blast swallows the hillside whole, fire rolling over broken ground. Smoke and dust climb into the sky, hiding everything that's left standing. Of course, it isn't that easy. The smoke thins and it's still standing, soldiers closing in around it now. Did the grenades even touch it? A soldier pushes through the haze, rifle up, someone yelling from behind for a status. Boots crunch over spent shells and scattered rubble. His breath fogs in the cold, sweat cutting through the grime on his face. Meanwhile, the smoke won't clear, just one dark shape holding at the center of it. A soldier looks up and his mouth drops open. What is that even? Up close now, it isn't unhurt. Torn flesh and black blood streak its side, a bloodied axe hanging from one hand. Under the hood, its grin stretches wide and wrong. Someone finally asks about the yellow dust thick in the air. Nobody answers. The wound on its side is already closing. Black thread stitching flesh back together in real time. The monster's body is regenerating, someone yells, and the counter order comes back fast. Keep firing, don't let it recover. Honestly, only one fighter still has the range to close on it. A red-haired officer swings a glowing blade, aiming low for the leg. The answer comes back faster. A counter slash catches her mid-air and throws her clean across the clearing, soldiers scattering below. A soldier stares out through blood streaked across his own face, frozen. Another lies collapsed in a spreading pool, groaning with every breath. Nearby, a pale hand reaches out of a body already gone still. So this is what's left. From above, the clearing is nothing but bodies in camo and dropped rifles, blood soaking the dirt. Closer in, a dead man's legs lie limp, another body just a few feet away. A soldier staggers forward, blood on his hands, barely standing. He looks back at what used to be his squad. Everyone's dead, he says. What is that monster? Dust rises again, and no one's ready this time. A soldier spots it first and screams, blood already down his face. A boot slams into Han Suan out of nowhere, and his own men are the ones screaming his name. Come back, someone shouts. Boot already striding through the grass. Han Suan turns, blood in one eye, pure fury on his face. A bloodied comrade reaches him, relief lasting about half a second. Behind him, something huge rises, spiked, eyes glowing like embers. Dust swallows the whole scene. Through it, someone screams for him to stay clear of it. Han Suan doesn't run, even with the creature towering right at his back. Is there any other way to survive this? No. So he decides to take the thing into himself, whatever it costs. He runs through the dark forest, blood still streaking his face. Something slices past him from the trees, and for a second it looks like a clean miss. It isn't. The blade catches him, and he goes down coughing blood onto his own chest. Claw marks tear through the dark next, and it's not clear anymore who's doing the cutting. Cut to decades later, the same blood-soaked visitor sits across from Maru, hands clasped. "You did it yourself," he says, flat. The same man stands in a doorway years on, sharp suit, calm and unreadable. Whatever he became after that night, he built it right here. Further back still, a child kneels by a body, a small toy still in his hand. Back then, the visitor says his father had only one goal: to reach the abyss. That was the whole plan, whatever it took. It took his own son too, dragged off screaming, "Dad, let go." Because he couldn't defend them any other way, the visitor says, just as bloodied in the memory as he is now. The visitor goes quiet, listening to his own words land. Then he says it plain, they're carriers of a Rakshasa now. One wrong step, and any of them could fall into the abyss and become Rakshasas themselves. Cut to a quiet building at night, one window still lit. Inside, Maru sits alone in the dark, holding an old photo, the power out around him. In it, his father carries a small boy on his shoulders, both of them laughing. The bloodstained visitor stands over him at the door. "You're no different from them," he says. Maru just looks down and says nothing. Meanwhile, at the office, a coworker glances up from a monitor, unimpressed at Maru's empty desk. Someone's filling in, hair like he rolled out of bed, already on with Incheon headquarters. Across the counter, a colleague reaches toward him, calm as ever. Turns out Maru's back. He storms through the door, still fixing his hair, shirt untucked, gasping that he's late. Of course he is. Seconds later, he's striding into headquarters, suit straight, spine straighter, like the last few days never happened. The office is doing what it always does. Sun's up, desks are full, and Nam Yosek sprawled in his chair, doing absolutely nothing useful. Some things never change. Then he stops by his chair, gripping it like it's the only solid thing left. No more running, no more hiding what he is. He's staying with the special civil servants team. He's chasing the truth about his father now, whatever it costs him. What's actually buried in that truth he just swore to find? Of course, resolve doesn't erase years of nightmares in one breath. He lingers in the dark hallway, hand in pocket, looking back once at what's behind him. What's actually waiting for him past that door? Then his foot comes down, hard. No hesitation now. Meanwhile, footsteps echo somewhere else entirely. The blue-haired man walks alone through a place strung with heavy chains, calm as ever. "The preparations are nearly finished," he says. From somewhere close, wrapped in smoke, a chained shape answers back. Soon, it says, "I'll see the abyss." The blue-haired man stands with his back to us, watching. A dark wing-shaped shadow spreads across the wall above the chains. He doesn't flinch, he just watches, waiting for whatever crawls out next.